Good evening from the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW. Along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio, I'm Kent Horman. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of IPFW Men's Volleyball, the Mastodons taking on the University of Pacific. And Steve, Pacific comes in here with a 2-16 record, but that could be somewhat misleading considering the Tigers play in that rugged Mountain Pacific Sports Federation.
Oh, absolutely. Almost always the wild card or the at-large bid comes out of the Mountain Pacific. Nine of their opponents are in the top 15. The West Coast is just a powerhouse every year in and out, so it's absolutely a misleading record. And
including now number 1 Cal State Northridge. Yep. IPFW is coming off of back-to-back losses to then number 1 Penn State here at the Gate Center in 4, and then last week they were waxed at Ball State University in 3 straight games. They're looking to make some amends, but they have had success against the Pacific program, most notably when they met here in March of 2006.
That's correct. Yeah, they had a local player from Bishop Dwenger High School, so it was nice. There was a good crowd on hand, and they did win both nights, Friday and Saturday. So yeah, they've had success.
Well, the Dons looking forward to renewing acquaintances with the Tigers. They have a 5-1 overall record against the University of Pacific. And again, the teams are very, very similar. Just 2 seniors on each team. They're freshman laden, so I think a lot of it will depend. Get the senior leadership when you can, and the freshmen who are playing will have to step up early.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the Mastodons have gotten a lot of work from their freshmen and their sophomores. And so you look at, sometimes you can look at the Mastodons record and you can say that's misleading too, because they're an up-and-coming team. They had a really strong weekend against Penn State and St. Francis.
It is a new-look program for Arnie Ball, and the IPFW Mastodons will take on the University of Pacific. That's coming up next right here on CATV Sports.
You could land a promotion, earn more money, become a leader in your field. And IPFW makes it easy. With affordable tuition, night and weekend classes, and more than 20 graduate programs from business to education to public affairs and more. Become the master of your future. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. Your graduate university.
You're not going
on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Steve Florio, Kent Horman here on CATV. We are set for action, IPFW and the University of Pacific. And it will be the Tigers to start out serving, and it'll be Kevin Pratt, who is a junior out of Hemet, California, to put the ball into play. And we are underway with the first serve, bumped up neatly by Mike Marisi. The set comes right down the middle, and Oliver Cook smokes it to the floor. Well, Steve, there's a good start, especially with the Dons setting the middle right off the hop.
Absolutely. That's what the Dons want to do. Their strengths are definitely on their outside, so if they can start with the middle, they're going to set a good tone for the match.
Here comes Ali, the junior out of Hamburg, Germany, the high toss. The big jump serve, bumped up neatly. Now here comes a set, and a little short ball down the middle is put down as well. That kill goes to Joe Forbes. He is one of the veterans, the 6'7" senior out of Westport, Connecticut, and we are tied 1-1.
And Pacific answered with their own attack in the middle, so both teams off to a good start running their middles.
Forbes with a little jump floater, and that is long. That'll be a service error, so a point to the Dons. They take a 2-1 lead. For the University of Pacific, Jason Borchin is an outside hitter, a junior out of Roseville, California. Joe Forbes is a middle blocker from Westport, Connecticut. Mark Bowes is the libero. There's a short serve by Stewart. Now a set comes across, and a big kill that time by Jason Borchin. Goes off the forearms of the libero, Mike Marisi of the Dons, and that was a quick arm right there.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that ball touched the block or not, because that was going to be long if Mike had just let it go, but maybe it tipped the block, and he saw it touch, and I didn't.
Here is Jeff Hendershot loading up the high toss. Big serve, and that's bumped up by Duckworth. They're going to have to play a bump set. Comes across, and a big swing, and that time it was airmailed by Phil Peterson. Peterson is a freshman out of Hamburg, New York. And now it's 3-2 in favor of the University of Pacific. Hendershot with a big serve, bumped up that time by Duckworth. Set comes across, and a good swing cross court that time by Darrell Shank. he really has emerged as the Dons' go-to guy.
Absolutely. Darryl Shank has been strong from both pins, from the left and the right. And Duckworth, by the way, has just been passing really well as of late. So that was good to see him shake off that first shank and get back to passing really well.
Shank, the sophomore out of London, Ontario. There's a pretty good dig right there by Borchin. Bumped across to the Don side. The set by Stewart, and that time the swing by Duckworth goes off the antenna, so that'll be a swing error. A point goes to Pacific. The Tigers move in front 4-3. Game number 1, best 3 out of 5. You have to be the first team to 30, win by 2. There's a look at the last match in 2006, which the Dons won in 5 tough games. Ooh, a big service dug up by Marici, and down the middle that time comes Chris Brigson, the freshman out of Burlington, Wisconsin. Tied at 4, and there again is the look at that epic match. The Dons and the Tigers, March 4th, 2006. IPFW coming back to win it in 5. IPFW has won the last 5 meetings. They're 6-1 overall against Pacific. There is a big serve by Brigson, bumped up from the back row. Kind of a weak swing. The Dons have a chance, and pounding it through the block that time is Duckworth, and they can't fish it out of the net, so the Dons will take the kill and the point. Now they move ahead by a single tally, 5-4.
That's a great job by the Dons converting on a weak attack by Pacific. Just 2 points before that, Pacific had a tip one, and the Dons couldn't convert. So Dons doing a good job of bouncing back and converting on their next opportunity.
Chris Brigson serves it up. A diving attempt that time by Bowes, the libero, and it's in front of him. So there is an ace by Brigson, and now the Dons with the 2-point edge, 6-4.
Brigson did a nice job. His first serve was really deep and hit the passer high. His next serve was really short in front of him. I wonder if that was on purpose, and if it was, brilliant.
Now Brigson. A little more on it that time. He goes down the sideline, and they can play it off the net. The libero Bowes saves it. A bump comes across the net, chance for the Dons. Stewart, Duckworth, and it's just a little bit long. Tough to tell, Steve, if he was trying to wipe that off the block or if the block altered his shot, but just a little long.
Yeah, it was just a low set. It sort of was dying before it reached where he needed to be, and he was just trying to get it down the line and in.
Now here's Sean Daly with the serve. It's bumped up by Shank, and there is an overpass. It handcuffs him, so that goes as an ace by Daly, and we are even at 6, game number 1. Again, best 3 out of 5. First 4 games are to 30, win by 2. If it goes to the 5th, it's to 15, win by 2. Big serve bumped up by Marici. That's an overpass, and making him pay that time is Kevin Pratt. The junior out of Hemet, California, puts the Tigers back on top, 7-6.
And so both teams struggling a little bit in serve receive, so I think it's going to be a question of who can calm their serve receive down right now.
Daly serves it right into the belly of the net for a service error.
Well, you don't have to worry about serve receive when they do that, though.
Yeah,
they take care of it for you.
7-7. And here is Phil Peterson, one of the Dons' 7 freshmen. There are 11 first-year players in this IPFW roster this year. Big serve bumped up that time by Borchin. And there is going to be an illegal hit that time. That'll be charged to Eric Ficino, the setter, and he didn't really have a good ball to handle. Their whole situation got out of
It was
sync.
sort of like pinball, and he made a bad choice, and he got called on a double contact. His right hand, then his left hand hit it.
Peterson will serve with the Dons up by 1, 8-7. There again, dug up by Borchin. The set comes across, and there is a swing right through the block that time by Kevin Pratt.
And that's what you can do when you have a good pass, is you can hold the middle blocker, and then you can kick it to the outside, and you can get a one-on-one situation. One-on-one situation is advantage to the attacker.
Eric Ficino with a little floater to the knee. It's bumped up, and now as they try to come down the middle, Ollie Cook hits it wide. He tried a little cut shot around the middle block, and there's a swing error, so now it's the Tigers back on top as we go to the seesaw, 9-8 Pacific, game number 1.
Both teams just trying to find a groove right now. Neither of them seem to be in sync.
Ficino, a little floater, flipped up by Cook. Back set, and a big swing that time, and it's a wipe-off, so give the kill that time to Peterson. Just maybe grazed the top of the block, so give him a wipe-off kill.
And no argument from the blocker, so it was a good call. Sometimes you'll see the blocker turn and face the official and say, no, I did not. But they just accepted it, so had to be.
Tied at 9, Ben Duckworth, one of the best servers in the country, peeled off the floor that time. There's a swing off the Dons block, And Marisi can't come up with it. That was Jeff Hendershot with the big arm, the senior out of Claremont, California.
That ball is just moving so fast. When it deflects a block, it changes course really quickly. It's sometimes hard to make a dig off that.
Pratt with a big serve, bumped up by Duckworth. There's an overpass again. They joust at the net, and it's won that time by Joe Forbes. So the Tigers take a 2-point advantage, 11-9, game number 1.
And passing, again, is just a bit of a struggle right now for IPFW.
Pratt with the big
There's a
serve.
good one. That's a good one.
Duckworth, Shank with the ball to handle. Oh, what a dig by Ficino, and he flips a free ball over. Stewart tries again. Cook is blocked that time by Borchin and Forbes. Well, they were trying to go down the middle, but there was a wall of Tigers there, and it's the biggest lead for either team, 3 points at 12-9 in favor of Pacific.
And that was an outstanding dig by Ficino, really doing a good job playing his position.
Good pass by Duckworth to Shank, and Shank, I think he blistered at that time off the antenna. So now it's 13-9 in favor of the University of Pacific.
For those of you watching at home, the antenna, if you hit the antenna, it's out of bounds. And when you do hit the ball, it has to pass within the antennas. Cannot go around them.
Kevin Pratt peeled off the floor by Marisi. Here comes Shank. The high jump, it's off the top of the block, dug up by Pratt. They back set, and that time a big swing by Hendershot is dug by Marisi. Oh, a change of pace, and what a brilliant play by Phil Peterson. They were looking for the fastball. He goes to the changeup and looped it over, and the Dons stopped the string of points by Pacific. They now trail 13-10.
And Peterson showed a lot of maturity on that ball. That set was about 2 or 3 feet behind a 10-foot line, which is not a good location for a back set. And Peterson made a good choice of rolling it instead of swinging at it.
Ollie Cook tries to serve it down the line and flares it wide, so there is a service error as Cook checks out and the libero Marisi checks back in. 14-10 Pacific. Match moving right along. Joe Forbes will serve it up for the University of Pacific. It's a little floater. Bumped up by Duckworth. They battle at the net. It's back set, and there's a swing by Shank that's dug up that time by Pratt. Now a wipe-off kill by Jason Borchin, who leads Pacific in kills. So now 15-10, kind of a sizable pad here right now in game number 1 for the Tigers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just right now it comes down to IPFW settling down and getting a grasp on their ball control here. Every time I say that, Pacific misses a serve, by the way. So maybe I should say that all the time.
So the service error makes it 15-11. And here is Corey Stewart, the junior out of St. Mary's, Ontario, Canada. Little floater. Ficino back sets. And there is a swing that's wiped off the Dons block, that time by Jeff Hendershot. They thought maybe that grazed the back line, but the flag went up, and now it's 16-11 in favor of the Tigers.
Well, it was a good block. I mean, they had a good solid, they formed really nice on the floor and went up solid. They just did not press down.
Hendershot with a big serve, but again, into the net for a service error. So some loose serving by the Tigers allow the Dons to creep back to within 4 at 16-12.
Yeah, and the Mastodons are going to want to take advantage of this. They got a good blocking front row up right now. So a good serve and a block would be a great spark for the team right now.
Shank with the serve, bumped up by Forbes. Ficino sets it down the middle, and putting it away that time is Sean Daly. That little quick ball, right down the pipe.
He was up and down just a little faster than the block, and he did a nice job of hitting it on an angle. Sometimes middles hit straight away and it'll get blocked. He did a nice job of hitting to the left or to the right there.
Jason Borchin with a big serve. Kind of handcuffs Duckworth. Run down that time by Peterson, and they're saying no dice there with that play. A double hit is called. And now 18-12 in favor of the Tigers here in game number 1. We talked about in the pre-match that 2-16, very misleading when this team has played the likes of UCLA, Santa Barbara, BYU, Stanford, Pepperdine. And there is another service error, so the woeful serving of the Tigers are keeping the Dons around.
You know, and sometimes in men's volleyball, there's a risk-reward to the serve, and they seem to be breaking down IPFW serve receives with the ones they get in. So they might be going for it, swinging for the fences, and if they miss, they're okay with that.
Chris Brigson returns the favor with a service error. And he checks out. The libero Marici checks back in. So the gift point makes it 19-13 in favor of Pacific. This is the first of 2 matches between the Dons and the Tigers this weekend here at the Gates Center. No TV tomorrow, but 7 o'clock, bring your $5 and support the Dons. Yet another service error committed by Pacific.
Now, the ratio that men's volleyball teams typically accept for service errors to aces is 2 service errors for every 1 ace. So they do play the risk-reward scenario there.
Phil Peterson with the big serve. Well, it's bumped up that time by Borchin. The set comes across, it's shot across, and there is a big swing that time by Pratt that more or less eats up Ben Duckworth. He was leaning backward, went off his forearms, and flared over into the seats.
Yeah, it was a high outside set that looked like it was going wide of the antenna, and the outside hitter actually reached for it. It's hard to tell where it was going to go, and he actually ended up hitting it a lot better than it looked like he was going to.
Served by Ficino, bumped up by Duckworth. He takes the set, hits it off the top of the block. It's saved that time by Bowes, and there is a miss hit that time by the Tigers. So the Dons will pick up the point. They now trail 20-15 in game number 1. Right now, Cal State Northridge is the number 1 team in the country. Former number 1 and defending national champion Penn State has slipped down to the 4 slot. Oh, and there is a miss hit on the serve by Duckworth. Boy, that's uncharacteristic because he's one of the top servers, especially for aces in the country. I think he only trails Penn State's Max Holt for leading in aces in the nation, and commits the service there to make it 21-15. A big serve that time by Pratt, lunging his Duckworth, an overpass, and it's smoked down by Joe Forbes. And now it's a commanding 22-15 Pacific lead.
See, and Pacific's going to be okay if they go back and miss this serve now. I don't think the coach is going to be too upset because they're serving really tough and they're getting a lot of aces and overpasses.
And there's one again. Corey Stewart tries to flip it over. Ficino with the back set. And what a block that time by Schenk as he stuffs Jeff Hendershot. Maybe that is the momentum turn.
A big solo block like that by one of your big guns could definitely shift the momentum. It's a nice job of Schenk picking up his hitter because it was a very crafty set, switching sides of the net there.
By the way, the up official is Dan Hauser. The down official is Patty Salvatore. Familiar names and faces in these parts for volleyball. Ollie Cook, the jump serve. Bumped up by Borchin. There's an overpass, and as they battle at the net, I believe we had a Tiger over the net, so the point goes to the Dons. And they crawl to within 22-17.
Just a little bit of time is all the Dons need to do. Here we have Ollie Cook serving his jump topspin, which I haven't seen much this year.
Puts more pace on it. There's another overpass by Borchin. Chance for the Dons. Stewart to Schenk. Oh, does he smoke that? What a dig, but that time Corey Stewart answers, takes the ball that was hanging there like a piñata and flips it over so the Dons get a point, and here they come trailing 22-18. And now we have a timeout that is called by the head coach of Pacific, Joe Wortman. We'll take a timeout here. This is Mastodon Volleyball on CATV Sports.
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
The Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio. Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. Early in the match, we're in game number 1 of this best 3 out of 5, and the Dons trail Pacific 22-18. Again, this is the first of a weekend doubleheader between the Dons and the Tigers. Same 2 teams right back here at the Gate Center tomorrow night. 7 p.m. first serve, but there will be no television, so come on out. $5 to get in. Bring a little extra money for beverage and popcorn and enjoy some of the finest Division I men's collegiate volleyball. Good look at the Gate Center, Steve.
Absolutely. Unusually warm weather, I guess, right now. It's been freezing cold these past couple weeks and months, and all of a sudden we have 60 degrees, and it's a little warm here in the gym even.
Kind of a rarity, for this time of year. Cook with a topspin serve, flipped up by Bowes. And what a swing down the middle by Joe Forbes as he hits it down with authority. 23-18 now in favor of the Tigers. And if you're just joining us, Pacific comes in 2-16 overall, 0-13 in the rugged Mountain Pacific Sports Federation. They've lost 12 matches in a row. But again, against the likes of Santa Barbara, UCLA, BYU, Stanford, Pepperdine, UC San Diego, Long Beach State, Cal State Northridge, it's tough out west. There's a big windup and a swing that time by Peterson, and that time it eats up Eric Ficino. So Peterson, the freshman, with the kill. The Dons back to within 4, 23-19.
And Duckworth looked like he paid extra attention to his touch on that serve receive. It almost looked like he was really making sure he did not pass it too tight to the net this time, and it paid off.
Corey Stewart, a little flip serve. It's flipped up by Pratt. And there's a swing that time by Borchin, but it's blocked by the Dons as Brigson was in there. And he's happy with his effort, and the Dons needed that point. Now they're back to within 3 at 23-20.
We might see Hendershot get a swing here from the right side, see if he goes behind. No, goes right back to him.
Ficino, and that time it was a dink attempt by Borchin. The Dons sniffed that out and put that right back on the Pacific side. Here comes IPFW. They're within 2 at 23-21.
That's sort of old school volleyball by Ficino, the setter for Pacific. It used to be when your hitter got blocked, you go right back to him to let him redeem himself. So it was interesting to see that.
Ooh, an overpass, a one-handed set by Ficino, but the Dons have a chance with a free ball. Shank will unload. That time it handcuffs Ficino briefly. Good diving save. A free ball flipped over by Borchin. Chance for the Dons to set it up. To Shank. He tries a little dink attempt. A pancake save by Marizzi, but that'll be 4 hits. Well, the ball a little bit loose like a pinball. Dons had a shot, Steve. Couldn't quite get the offense set up, and head coach Arnie Ball, as he cruises right in front of us, is not happy. He knows they had an opportunity to put one down.
Anytime you can get a team to send a ball over the net in any sort of a weak type manner, you really need to capitalize, especially if you're the team that's losing. But again, the Dons chipping away. They've got the lead down to 3 here, so little here, little there. They've got plenty of time to do it. They don't need to score them all at once.
Jeff Hendershot will load up the serve for Pacific. Big serve. Peeled off the floor by Shank. Stewart sets it across. Peterson. Oh, and is he blocked that time by the setter, Eric Ficino, who does a little wiggle after the block. And now Arnie Ball is going to take a timeout. The Dons trail 25-21 in game number 1 from CATV Sports. IPFW Volleyball, and we can tell you that you can get the inside set on the hard-hitting, high-flying IPFW men's volleyball program each Wednesday and Thursday on College Access Television. Coach Arnie Ball and Coach Mark Franke bring you scores and highlights. They talk about the matches, the competition, and I understand the most recent show they talk about officiating. And they'll also introduce you to a player or a guest. It's the Arnie Ball Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m., Thursdays at 7:30 p.m., right here on College Access Television Sports. And talking to assistant coach Mark Franke before the match, Steve, he said the latest edition of the Arnie Ball Show is an epic because they spent almost the entire show talking about the officiating, most notably during the recent match at Ball State University.
Yeah, unfortunately I wasn't down at Ball State to see it, but I had heard that it was inconsistent, to say the least. And you'll have that, and it's a heartbreaker when you go out there and try your very best and you feel like the officiating was inconsistent.
And my understanding, one of the officials involved is right here tonight. That would be Patty Salvatore. Hey, there's a young fan. Happy to be here with his toy. Good crowd here at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center. Glad you could join us if you're not here on CATV Sports. Jeff Hendershot. With the high toss, the big serve, dug up neatly by Maurice. Good ball for Stewart to handle. Back sets. Shank tries to put it down. A lunging save that time. And now a chance for the Dons to reload. Back set. Shank. And it's at the net. It rides down the body that time of Sean Daly. And maybe it wasn't the blistering fastball, but give Shank the kill. The Dons back to within 3, 25-22.
As long as the ball hits the ground, it doesn't matter how it gets there. 2 good passes by Maurice. One off serve, one off the roll shot.
Shank with the big serve, and that is way long beyond the baseline, so not the spot for an error. And the Dons now trail 26-22, and boy, you're 4 points from a game. That's just, there's never a good time for a service error, but late in a game is a really rugged time. Borchin with the serve. Maurice.
Another good pass.
Loading it up that time. Wow, and that time Duckworth is again roofed by Ficino with help from Sean Daly. Eric Ficino, the setter, 6'2", but he gets above the net, and he's just a freshman, so you got the old freshman setter situation for Pacific.
Yeah, and he's doing a nice job tonight. He's doing a little bit of everything. I mean, he's making some mature decisions. He's playing defense and blocking.
Now there's a little dink attempt down the line that time by Peterson, but he flares it wide, and Arnie Ball is going to take a timeout with the Dons trailing 28-22 here in game number 1. Best 3 out of 5. And this is one of those times, Steve, and I know you've experienced this in a coaching situation, that, when it's 28-22, you're trying to talk the team up. Is your mindset thinking more about getting something going, preparing for game 2? Because it's pretty tough when you're down 6 with only 2 points for a team to close out game 1 to come back. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you never want to rule out the chance of a comeback, but at the same time, what you really want to do is just get something rolling, just get something started. And if at least, even if IPFW outscores Pacific, 4-2 in these last few points, and Pacific ends up winning, 30-26, at least you can say we scored 4 out of the last 6 points going into game 2. So what you're trying to do is you're just trying to correct what's wrong right now, and maybe it gets you to come back win, but really ultimately you just want to build some momentum.
Well, these matches are important for IPFW because they're riding a 2-match losing streak, having fallen to Penn State here February 21st, and then at Ball State in 3 February 27th. But after these 2 matches here against Pacific, what a rugged road trip. At number 6, Long Beach State. At number 3, Brigham Young. Then at number 4, Penn State, March 13th, 14th, and 20th. And then they'll conclude that road trip at St. Francis of Pennsylvania, March 21st, before coming back here to the Gate Center.
New set of hands in for the Dons, by the way. Dan Mader, a freshman.
New setter. And there is the swing that time by Peterson, and he wipes it off the block. So I think Arnie Ball looking for some change here. And
well, the passing picked up. We got a defensive sub in here.
And that'll be Jonathan Meyer, a freshman out of Hamburg, New York. He'll also come in to serve. Arnie shaking things up a little bit. Dons trail 28-23, and there's a good look at Jonathan Meyer. Twirls the ball around, the high toss. Serve. Bumped up that time by Bowes. Oh, it was a little surprise party by Ficino. The Dons stuffed that. He shoots it across. The swing that time by Platt. The Dons get hands on that. Set down the middle. Cook wipes it off the block, and Oliver Cook comes up with a clutch kill to draw the Dons to within 28-24.
And you really got to tip your cap to Duckworth for IPFW, who did a good job of playing his position. His job as the left side blocker when the setter's front row is to cover the setter in case he tries to attack, and he did that, and that got the Dons an easy ball back and transition kill.
Big serve by Meyer. Now the set comes, and wiping it off the block that time is Sean Daly. So now it is game point here for game number 1 for the University of Pacific as they lead 29-24.
So we got Dan Mader in, freshman setter for IPFW, and you got a freshman setter in for Pacific.
Yep.
It's a battle of the freshmen at the moment.
And coming in to serve right now for Pacific is Dylan Walker. He is a freshman out of La Canada, California. He surveys the landscape, the high toss. Big serve bumped up neatly by Marisi. The set comes to Cook, and Ali puts it down in the floor, diving past the back row, and the Dons are still not going away. They trail 29-25.
Well, and again, they since the timeout, they have outscored Pacific 3-1, which is a good sign. Pacific has 5 chances here to score the game point, though.
Peterson. His big serve, bumped up by Bowes. Ficino down the middle, and that time it's a wipe-off kill for Joe Forbes, and that will close out game number 1 as the University of Pacific, forget about that 2-16 record and the 12-match losing streak. They come in here, and in game number 1, they defeat the Dons 30-25. We will come back with game number 2 between IPFW and the University of Pacific from CATV Sports. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
This isn't mine.
Men often oppose a thing merely because they've had no agency in planning it, or because it may have been planned by those whom they dislike.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW. It's an exploration of the great ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of more than 50 key books and writings. So, will that be paper or plastic? Log on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
What do college students want? That's a question we'll explore on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, when results of a recent undergraduate student survey are discussed. Most people are aware of the movie images of martial arts, but did you know there is real art in martial arts? We'll show you some examples. And we'll learn about IPFW's Japanese Saturday School, all on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, Sundays at noon on College Access Television.
Do you have everything you need? Paper, pencils? We only ask that you do your best. And make you a snack.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Back at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, right here in spring-like Fort Wayne, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio. Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. A big weekend of volleyball here at the Gate Center. This is the first match of a weekend twin bill between homestanding IPFW and the University of Pacific Tigers, the visitors. And right now, the visitors, Steve, have made themselves right at home here in Gates because they took game number 1 by the score of 30-25.
Oh, absolutely, and they did that by hitting 400, 40%, which I always liken it to baseball. You want to be hitting around 300 if you're a good baseball team, and so if you're a good volleyball team, you want to be hitting around 300, and they hit 400, which is well above 300, and they did that for two reasons. One, they served really tough. Pacific served really tough and got a lot of overpasses, which you get free swings on those, so those are automatic kills almost. And then the Dons hit .032. They hit 3%, and that's attributed to tough passing and the tough serving of Pacific. And then Corey Stewart, who's been playing so well for the Dons, took a thumb injury back against Penn State, and it's still affecting his location on his sets. And so when the Dons did get a good pass, Corey struggled a bit getting the ball in a good spot for the hitters to hit. So Coach Ball made a change at the setter's position, put Dan Mayer, the freshman, in, and so when the Dons do make a good pass, maybe Dan can deliver the ball a little more accurately. Again, Corey has been doing a great job for the Dons. As a matter of fact, they seem to be turning the corner and coming together. On the weekend, they played St. Francis and then Penn State, almost beating Penn State. And in the Penn State match is when Corey hurt his thumb. He actually hurt his thumb at 27-27 in Game 3 against Penn State.
Wow!
So it was a tough blow to the Dons. So we'll see. We'll see if the setter's change can help lift that hitting percentage a little for the Mastodons. And at the same time, they need to lower the hitting percentage of Pacific.
We are set to go here in game number 2. And it will be Chris Brigson, the freshman out of Burlington, Wisconsin, to serve it up. And he almost serves it on top of the track. He got underneath that one, and that's what you call airmail, so not exactly the kind of start the Dons are looking for here to game number 2. And
still, just you don't want to start like that, especially when you're trying to establish some rhythm. But okay.
Kevin Pratt says, okay, I'll return the favor. And if anything, that's what got Pacific in a little bit of trouble in game number 1, as they had 6 service errors in game number 1. And we're even at 1 here in game 2.
And they had 1 ace, but they had about at least 3 or 4. They forced at least 3 or 4 overpasses, which is as good as an ace.
Big serve by Peterson. Set comes down the middle, and putting it away that time is Joe Forbes. And we talked about this in the pre-match, that these teams very similar. Each only have 2 seniors. The Dons have 4 juniors. Pacific has 5. And the Dons have 7 freshmen. Pacific has 10, although not all of them are here. Little jump serve by Forbes. Flipped up by Duckworth. They come down the middle. What a block that time. Sean Daly blocks Ollie Cook, and then he kind of stands there and likes to ham it up a little bit. And why not? That was a good block.
Yeah,
a solo block to boot.
Yep.
3-1 Tigers early in game number 2. Now here's Joe Forbes. Likes that little running floater. Well, there's a back set.
And wiping it off the block that time was Peterson, but it's saved. Free ball is flipped over by Forbes. Dons, another chance. Mater sets it across. A big swing that time by Duckworth, but it's dug up neatly by the Tigers. Coming right down the pipe that time is Pratt. The Dons dig that up. Battle at the net. Diving save by Marisi. Another diving save. What a great play that time by Shank, and the Dons get the free ball over. Now that time, Daly is handcuffed. Loading it up off the top of the block is Borsch, and this is the rally of the match. Here comes the set. There's the swing that time by Duckworth, and he wipes it off the block and puts it down with authority.
What an important point for the Dons. They needed to get something. They needed a spark. There seemed to be no rhythm over there. They weren't finding any groove. That could be definitely the rally that helps them find their groove, helps them find a little energy and rhythm. That absolutely could be the rally. They worked so hard to earn that point.
Dons trail 3-2, and here comes Ben Duckworth, the sophomore out of St. Louis. Looks over at his bench to get the zone the coaches would like him to select. And the big serve bumped up by Bowes. But coming right down the middle, a great dig by Duckworth. They joust again at the net, and that time reaching over the net was Sean Daly. He was dug the first time. The second time he was anxious. We're tied at 3 in game number 2.
And the rule there is you're not allowed to play the ball if it's on the other side of the net, if it's on your opponent's side, and he did reach over. The ball hadn't quite cleared the net yet.
Duckworth with a big serve, bumped up that time by Pratt. The back set. Kind of a change of pace swing by Hendershot. Bumped up by Marisi. Shank loads it up. Now there's the libero Bowes for Pacific. Comes across. Borchin loads one up. That's bumped up by Duckworth. Another good rally. Back set. Peterson with the big swing, and he drops the hammer. And the Dons take their first lead of game 2, 4-3.
Well, the Dons have just shifted gears, and they've just upped the ante a little bit with their defense. They just picked their defense up a notch. They've had some great digs, 2 or 3 or 4 digs just in his last 2 rallies. Making a difference.
Duckworth, unfortunately, those serves at long, commits the error that ties the game 4-4. I know a priority this week, Steve, for IPFW was to clean up some things in the back row.
Right. Well, again, their serve receive has been a little off tonight, but it came around at the end of game 1. But their defense has definitely picked it up here in game 2.
Jeff Hendershot loads one up, bumped up neatly by Marisi. The set comes across, and Shank is dug by a lunging Hendershot. They flip a free ball over. Mater back sets. Peterson! And there's a dig that time, and it's saved. They'll have to bump the free ball over, and that's Kevin Pratt. Marisi with a bump. The pass comes across. There's the set, and that time it's kind of a loose swing, and I think Shank got under it a little bit, so that'll be a swing error on Shank. Pacific back on top, 5-4.
Those are the points you can't let get away when you have a team staying on the ground and just rolling one over with their arms. You need to make them pay.
Jeff Hendershot puts a lot on that one, dug up by Marisi. Mater, and the set by Cook, but again, he is stuffed by Sean Daly. Oh, check that. They're going to say it rode down the other side of the net.
That's a nice job of Volley Cook, fast arm. He was able to beat the block before the block could close the net. And any time the Dons can get a kill from the middles is a good time because their big guns swing from the antennas, so you want to open them up as the game goes on.
Yep, that rode down the body by Daly, but then Oliver Cook can't stand prosperity. He commits the service error, and that moves Pacific ahead 6-5. Game number 2, Pacific took game number 1, 30-25. Here's Jason Borchin. Got the very high toss, the big swing.
Good pass.
But kind of mishitting at that time is Brigson. So getting the chance to load it up and getting it through the block and down is Hendershot. So now it's 7-5 in favor of the Tigers. Joe Wortman is the coach of Pacific. He's in his 17th season. One of his assistants, Jeff Hall, played here with Pacific 17 years ago when a fellow named Loy Ball was setting for IPFW. Big serve that time by Borchin. Dons dig it up. Shank wipes it off the block, and it handcuffs Bowes. And boy, that time your libero, Mark Bowes, he's looking at his fingers like they need some stickum or something. Your libero can't have that go through his hands like that. So the Dons will take the point and close within 7-6.
Well, they got Phil Peterson coming in the front row. It's a good block on the outside, well, on the right side for the Dons, but it'll be blocking the outside hitter of Pacific.
Mater with the serve. Great pass. They come across. Pratt tries to cut it, and he misses everything. He cut it wide. So now we're even at 7, and we were in a similar situation in game number 1. It was 7-7.
And, you know, Pratt needed to go around Phil Peterson there. Peterson had him locked down on the line, so he had to change his angle, and he missed. So the presence was already felt.
Mater bumped up by Bowes. They come right down the middle. Boy, the swing that time by Daly was initially dug, but if at first you don't succeed, try again.
You know, Brixton just lost his middle. I mean, he wasn't even up to block him. And one of the things you want to do if you're a middle blocker is always keep your eye on the other team's middle. You don't want them to run past you or get away from you.
So here's Sean Daly, a 6'7" freshman out of Moore Park, California. Good-looking prospect. Marici digs up his serve. The back set. Shank off the top of the block. Flipped up by Borchin. And they will back set it. Boy, there's a big swing and a quick arm that time by Hendershot. And was that a little bit long? Yes, it was. Just a little bit long and wide. Hendershot pleading that it clipped the back of the baseline, but no, and we're tied at 8.
Well, Peterson has been really swinging well, so a smart choice by Dan Mater to kick it behind him. I believe he's leading the team in kills, as a matter of fact.
Peterson has 5 in this match.
He's doing a great job from that right side, and Pacific's libero is on the cross-court angle of the outside hitter, so it makes sense that Peterson's going to maybe get better shots at kills.
And Shank commits the service error, so really serving woes have affected both teams in the match. That puts Pacific back on top by a point, 9-8. And here comes the freshman setter, Eric Fucino. Snaps the serve, and he snaps it just a little long, so there's yet another Pacific service error, and we're tied at 9.
You don't see a standing from the ground topspin serve very often these days in either men's or women's volleyball. Interesting choice by Fucino.
Now Chris Brigson, one of the freshmen on the floor for the Dons. High toss. Little change of pace, dug by a diving Borchin. Set comes across, and that time Hendershot is dug by the Dons. They come across to Duckworth off the top of the block. Bumped up that time by Hendershot. Fucino back sets. There's a swing off the top of the block by Pratt, but the Dons have it. Ooh, Pacific was looking for a double hit. On they play. Fucino sets it across. The big swing that time by Hendershot through the block and off the arms that time of Brigson. So Hendershot with the big shot. Now it's back to a 1-point Tigers lead, 10-9.
And the Dons could use another exciting rally or a big block or a big kill to get a little more energy, because when they had that rally, this gym woke up. So
Pratt, as he jumped in the air and thought about his serve, I think he probably outthought himself. He changed his mind in mid-flight. Took a lot off of it, and he commits the service there. That brought Joe Wortman, the coach of the Tigers, off his bench. 10-10. The pace of play, I think, has been very rapid.
Yeah, the points just seem to be slipping away for each team. Miss serve here and kill there.
They come down the middle, and drilling it off the block that time is Joe Forbes.
Overall, there hasn't been a whole lot of defense played by both teams. When teams are out of system, their digs are being made, but when they're in system, they're not. And Pacific is really getting a lot out of their middles, actually, more than even it appears.
So Joe Forbes will load it up, and the floater crawls over the net for an ace. Boy, when that left his hand, you just saw that ball starting to dip, and I thought, here comes another service error. It grew legs and trickled over.
And that's just unlucky for the Dons.
Yep. Seems like years and years ago, Steve, that if it hit the net, it was automatically an error. And that time he couldn't stand prosperity, so Forbes serves it into the net for an error, and it's 12-11. But now the rules of volleyball, you can clip the tape, and if it crawls over, it's a live ball.
They made that rule change along when they made the rally scoring rule change,
which I initially wasn't for. Now I think it's the greatest rule of the game. Big serve by Duckworth. And a quick set that time goes to that man, Sean Daly, and he snaps it to the floor. It was a good dive by the libero, Bowes, to get to the ball and set it up.
And that's a good job. And Bowes, actually, they have him listed on their roster as a setter. So he has obviously some setting experience. So that's the guy you want handling that second ball if a setter can't.
Hendershot hits the tape, bumped up by Marici. Mater sets it, and wiping it off the block that time was Shank, but they keep it on the floor, so that'll be yet another big block by Sean Daly, who has been a force in the middle, and now it's a 3-point bulge for Pacific again, 14-11.
And Fucino was in on that block as well, and again, he's just really doing a nice job, this young setter for Pacific, digging, blocking, and making good choices.
Marici with the pass, the back set goes to Peterson, and Peterson is blocked by Borchin with help that time from Daly.
And now it's 14-11, and we have a timeout on the floor. Check it now, 15-11 in favor of Pacific. The Tigers leading game number 2, so we'll take a timeout. On CATV Sports, this is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
Where would the world be today without religion? For better or worse, religion has been around as long as people have, and religious revolutions have existed almost as long.
On the next edition of Words of Change, we'll explore the 3 major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, how they are alike and how they are different. Join me, Bill McKinney.
And me, Daisha Charlesworth, as we bring you Words of Change, a look into the remnant trust at IPFW, Sunday evenings at 5:30 on College Access Television.
Back at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio. Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. And Steve, right now, so far, the Tigers have dominated the Dons, winning game 1 30-25. They now lead game number 2 15-11.
Oh, yeah. You know, it just seems like the Dons can't find a groove or any rhythm. I've said that already tonight. It just, they seem a little flat, a little out of sync, and they just need maybe to string 1 or 2 big plays together and get the crowd into it, because the crowd is a little flat right now as well. They need some sort of a spark. Mater has done a nice job as he's come in. He's done a good job at distributing the ball around to different hitters and finding the hot hand, which is Phil Peterson, even though he just got blocked. They could use, possibly they could use a couple more attacks out of the middle and open up Duckworth and Shank, who are the big weapons for IPFW and really haven't made much of an impact tonight just yet.
It's a good look at Jeff Hendershot. Loads up the serve, and he serves it way beyond the baseline. So coming out of the timeout, the service error gives the Dons a much-needed point. They climbed within 15-12 of the Tigers, and now it'll be Oliver Cook out of Hamburg, Germany, to serve it up. There's a good look at Ollie. Little jump toss. Bumped up. That's an overpass by Pratt, and making a pay, the Mastodons. And that time Chris Brigson takes the piñata and breaks it open to the floor. So now the Dons within a pair, 15-13.
And quick points like that are great, especially when you come from behind. It can mentally get you back right into the game, because once all of a sudden you're down 15-11, now you're down 15-13.
But Oliver Cook
that's a quick point for Pacific.
Serves it into the net, and Arnie Ball can only just sit there with his chin in his hand, and I'm not sure there's a much more frustrating thing for a coach than when your team commits the service errors. Now loading it up is Borchin. A diving, lunging dig by Duckworth. They set it for Shank. Shank gets flipped up that time by Pratt. A big swing that time out of the back row by Hendershot, and he knocks some of the varnish off the floor.
And again, that was the libero for Pacific, Bowes, handling that second ball, and it left his hands. It was a beautiful set. So this guy's definitely a setter when he's not wearing that libero jersey.
Bowes is pretty happy with that play. Borchin loads it up again, an overpass. Bowes will flip it. They come down the middle, and that time it was a short ball set by Fucino, and a miss hit that time by Sean Daly. So that time a missed opportunity for Pacific.
Yep. And the Dons with a good blocking front row. Shank, Rickson, and Peterson in the front row. So here's an opportunity for Dons to get a big block.
Mater, the freshman out of Lombard, Illinois, commits the service error. Well, there was an old axiom, the hits just keep on coming in the radio days, and unfortunately, the service errors just keep on coming, in this case for the Dons. There's big Sean Daly. A little change of pace, bumped up neatly by Marisi. They come across, and the big swing by Peterson that time drills it through the block. So a wipe-off kill by Peterson. Dons back to within 3 at 18-15, but they need to put together a string.
And it's like you said, the points just seem to be going real fast, and it's a lot of quick points. Service errors, overpass kills, hitting errors. Dons need to make Pacific rally with them.
Shank with the serve, set a shot across, an errant set that time by Fucino, who set it way outside the antenna. There was nothing that Pratt could do. So now the Dons within 18-16, coming off the good serve that time by Daryl Shank.
And again, another quick point in this match. Pass set and hitting error.
Shank, a very high toss. Just comes over the net, going to the floor is Forbes, but down the middle, there's a dig that time by Mater. Ficino. That time again, now Forbes can't get it down. Mater sets it across. Winding up for the big swing that time, and the kill, Duckworth. And now the Dons only trail by 1, 18-17.
And Dan Mater's dig was phenomenal. I know there were 2 digs in that, but that dig by Mater was really outstanding. Even though it went over the net, I mean, it was a great, great swing by Pacific. Forbes really got a hold of that first swing.
Daryl Shank. Flipped up by Bowes. They set the short ball, but blocked that time is Forbes. Chance for the Dons. Back set. Peterson hits it long.
That set was just dying a little inside. That's probably a set Peterson should have rolled or tipped or went for hands on. It was falling too low, too fast, and he had to drop his elbow to hit it, which sent it flying out of bounds.
Now it's 19-17 Tigers, and here is Ficino, the freshman setter, a little knuckle floater. Duckworth with the pass, coming down the middle and drilling it out of the bank row is Shank. It handcuffs Ficino, and here come the Dons. It's now 19-18. And checking in for IPFW will be Nathaniel Berg, who is a junior from right here in Fort Wayne, out of Bishop Dwenger. So Berg, who is a middle blocker, will come in to serve. Little knuckle floater bumped up by Bowes. Good ball for Ficino to handle. The short ball is squirted through the block by Forbes and put down. The Dons have trailed by as many as 4, and they've crept to within 1, but they just can't quite get to that equalizer again.
No, they just can't seem to get over the hump. But they're working hard. They're extending some rallies with their defense, and their hard work will probably pay off as this game continues.
Pratt bumped up by Shank. The set goes to Peterson, and he drills it again off the arms of Ficino. Now, Phil Peterson's having himself a bit of a match, leading the Dons in kills in this one. The kills for the teams are tied at 21 apiece, but Peterson has a third of the Dons' kills with 7.
And he's doing that really nicely by hitting a lot of sets that are sort of off the mark.
Big serve, but bumped up neatly by Borchin. They come down the middle, and putting it down is the big redhead, Kevin Pratt. It's interesting because you have these reddish-orange numbers on the jerseys of Pacific, and I think Pratt's hair kind of matches that color.
Maybe that's why he chose Pacific.
Yeah. There you go. He's a Californian out of Hemet, California. So here comes Joe Forbes, one of the seniors on the team. Little floater, kind of handcuffs Duckworth, but the set comes across to Duckworth, and he just rips it through the block. That was inside the baseline. That time, I think Pratt thought, I'm either not going to get it anyway, let's pray it goes a couple inches long, but it didn't. It was inside the baseline. Dons back to within 1 at 21-20.
What an important kill, too, because that set was off the mark. The pass was off the mark, and so get a kill off that, it's a big one for the Dons.
But there is an absolute momentum crusher, and Duckworth was going for it. Again, we talked about he's one of the leading servers of aces in the country, but he really tried to unload, and that service error puts Pacific back up by 2. Now here is Hendershot. His big serve kind of handcuffs Duckworth. A bit of a run for Mater. Coming out and getting it through the block is Daryl Shank.
And it's nice to see Shank and Duckworth come alive. Shank had a big kill out of the back row a couple points before, and now a nice swing there off the hands. So it's nice to see these two hitters for IPFW come alive, because they're certainly the leading attackers.
Cook with a floater, almost mishandled by Pratt. Trying to hit it around the block that time is Borchin, and he hits it wide, and the Dons have climbed back to level at 22-22. So now who will take charge of the remaining 8 points? And it's a huge momentum builder, because the Dons could either square this at 1 and it'd be a 2 out of 3. Pacific looking to take a commanding 2-0 lead as Jonathan Meyer comes in to serve for the Dons. Bumped up by Bowes. Ficino with the back set, and there's a big swing off the top of the block by Hendershot, and the Dons. What do we got?
What official Dan Hauser is calling the up official is he's saying that Pacific touched that ball on the joust
over the net,
that it was still on IPFW's side when he touched it. It wasn't what they call in the plane, where half of it is in Pacific side, half of it is in IPFW side. All of it was on IPFW's. Point Dons.
The serve bumped up that time by Pratt. They come down the middle, and wiping it off the block is Sean Daly. Dons had the block up, but it went almost straight sideways, and
ran right along the net. So now we're even at 23 after the Dons did grab a brief lead. Here's Oliver Cook back in for Jonathan Meyer. Well, check that. Cook is out and Marisi is back in.
The Dons are just sort of grinding this one out right now. And right now what we have, I think Coach Ball is just checking to see how many substitutions he's used. You only get 6 substitutions in men's volleyball, so if you run out, you got to stay with who's on the floor at that given time.
Well, he also brought in Eric Hardick, a freshman out of Wheaton, Illinois, so Marisi and Hardick in. And then you had Meyer and Oliver Cook come out. So
the only one that would be allowed to come off the floor is Marisi because he's a libero, and the substitution rules do not apply to liberos. They can go in and out as many times as they like. That's one of the quirky rules of that position.
Looks like everybody's satisfied. And Borchin with a key serve with this thing tied 23 apiece in game 2. Ooh, it clips the tape, almost hands up Duckworth. They come across Shank, and Shank puts it down. Oh, they thought it was going to have a chance to be saved. What happened was, I think Bowes got a hand on it and flipped it up, but the rest of the team gave up on the point, Steve.
Yeah, I think they thought it was down.
Yep. So now 24-23 in favor of the Dons. And Mater, another one of the freshmen, will serve it up. And he serves it into the net for an error. Well, that's what you're going to have to live with when you're playing so many freshmen. Gone are the likes of Brock Ulrich, C.J. Macias, Josh Stewart, Jason Yost. The core of the guys who led the Dons to 2 successive appearances to the Final Four and a trip to the national championship match back in 2007. Now here's Clay Ostrander, his first appearance with the serve, and he commits the service error. Wow, Ostrander is a junior out of Wheaton, Illinois, so as quickly as he checked in, he checks out, and now it's 25-24 Dons. Pressure is on, and here comes Daryl Shank.
And it is possible that Coach Ball has run out of subs because otherwise I'd imagine he put Phil Peterson back in.
Kind of a lollipop serve. Ficino, a short set, and I'll tell you, out of sync that time. The timing was off. Forbes couldn't get the big swing, so he put the long arm up and did a little dink over the block. So talk about turning lemons into lemonade. And it's 25-25. Well, who will make the key points down the stretch? Ficino, the freshman center out of Roseville, California. A little lollipop knuckler. Mater comes down the middle. Shank loads it up and puts it down.
And, you know, Pacific's defense didn't even move a muscle.
They
didn't
never
even
left
blink.
their feet. No.
I don't think they expected Shank to hit that ball as well as he did because it seemed like there was a miscommunication on the set. But nice job of correcting whatever happened and taking a good swing on the ball.
Chris Brigson.
Maybe he slipped.
The serve, and the Dons a 1-point lead game 2. They lost the opener 30-25. Dug up by a lunging Borchin. They come across. Hendershot. And Pacific is pleading for a touch, but they say
what the actual call was is there was a net violation, and it looks like they called, let's see.
I think perhaps, maybe they called it on Hardick.
Yeah, that's who they called it on.
Wow, there's a break for Pacific. Here comes Pratt to serve, tied at 26. His big serve bumped up neatly by Duckworth. The set comes across, a shoot set and put down with great timing by Cook.
Great timing and a very timely kill. The Dons have been really leaning on their outside and right side hitters the second half of this game, and the middles really haven't taken many swings, so nice job putting the middles back in action.
Hardick commits the service error. Ouch. Now we're tied at 27. Out goes the libero, Bowes, for Pacific. Back in comes that big man in the middle, Sean Daly, and it will be Joe Forbes set to serve it up. 27-27, key point of this match. The floater, and it handcuffs Duckworth. A long run for Mater, and playing the free ball over that time was Hardick. They have to peel it off the net, putting it down, and wiping it off the block that time was Sean Daly. Boy, I think both teams were out of sync, and that time Pacific just managed to come away with it. Arnie Ball wants a timeout. 28-27 Pacific in game number 2. And there is the head coach of IPFW, Arnie Ball. Not very happy with that last sequence, but the Dons still have a shot to pull this one out, trailing 28-27 after having lost the opener 30-25. And by the way, fans, we'd like to see you out here at the Gate Center, so For tickets to IPFW athletic events, call 260-481-6000. Again, 260-481-6000, or go to the IPFW Athletics website. It is a dandy. www.gomastodons.com. You get all of your information. That's 260-481-6000, 481-6000, or online at gomastodons.com. That was absolutely a labor of love by IPFW Assistant Athletic Director for Media Relations and Sports Information, Rudy Jovich, who, by the way, is out with all of the Mastodon basketball programs, the men and the women. And best of luck to both of those programs, who will play in the Summit League basketball tournament Sunday in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The women will take on state rival IUPUI Sunday at 1 p.m. Fort Wayne time. And then the men take on Oakland at 9:30 Fort Wayne time in the opening round of the Summit League basketball tournaments. Right here, though, the Dons trying to hang on against Pacific. They trail game number 2, 28-27. This will be a key serve for Joe Forbes. A floater. Bumped up by Shank. Mater to Duckworth. Gets it through the block and down. Wow, what a key swing by Duckworth.
Well, you know, if that's how it has to be, it might as well be that way. I mean, Duckworth and Shank put this team on their shoulders before, and they certainly can now. 28-28, who's going to grind it out here?
The serving pressure comes on Duckworth. He takes a little off, bumped up neatly by Pratt. The set comes across, Borchin, and he airmails it. Are they going to say there's a touch?
Yes.
They're saying there's a touch at the top of the block. Wow. Just barely detected by the officials, Hauser and Salvatore, and now it's a game point for Pacific. And Joe Wortman wants to make a sub. Out comes Fucino, and in comes Chaz Hinesley.
And this is a blocking sub.
Yeah.
No, what's going to happen is, well, we got a timeout. Is what's going to happen.
Well, Arnie Ball's, and I love this because it is the parallel of icing the kicker in football when you've got a clutch field goal attempt coming up, and the coach calls the timeout to ice the kicker. It's the old, how many times coming out of a timeout does the guy serving commit a service error? So it's a tactical move by Arnie Ball, and here we have a replay. As you see Mater running. Here comes Shank, and Shank drills it through the block and then down the line, so that was a clutch swing there by Shank.
Yeah, especially since they had a double block set up on him.
And it's interesting because both teams have 27 kills for the match. Shank and Peterson lead the Dons with 7. Joe Forbes leads Pacific with 7. Then you have Sean Daly and Jeff Hendershot with 6 apiece. But really, Pacific has had the better of the attack. They hit 400 in game 1. They're hitting 265 in game 2. After just hitting 032 in game 1, the Dons have stepped it up lately here in game 2, hitting 313. But
you do have Peterson back on the floor, so Coach Ball did have another substitution. He's got Peterson, who could be an attacker out of the back row. You've got a new set of hands in for Pacific.
And Hendershot was going for it all on a game point, commits the service error. Now it's 29-29, and you have to win by 2, so it'll be...
So the timeout did work. He did, in fact, ice the server.
Yep.
And now Pacific seems to be a little out of sync, almost caught out of rotation there.
Now Ollie Cook will serve for the Dons. He puts up the floater. Flipped up by Pratt, down the middle, and there's a huge block that time by Brigson. He feeds Sean Daly some of his own medicine, and now the Dons have their first game point. The fans on their feet in the Gate Center, they lead 30-29, and it'll be Ollie Cook serving to square this match at a game apiece. There's a little floater. The back set. Hendershot with the big swing, and it's long. That time Jeff Hendershot hits it long, and the Dons rally to take game number 2, 31-29. So we will have the traditional 10-minute intermission between games 2 and 3. This now becomes a best 2 out of 3. Pacific taking game number 1, 30-25. The Dons come back to take game number 2, 31-29. We will take this time out from the Hilliard Gate Sports Center. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball on CATV Sports.
I I've gone away to a college where the class size is small.
I've gone away to a college with a beautiful campus.
I've gone away to a college that cares about diversity.
I've gone away to a college where I get to live in my own apartment instead of living in a dorm room.
I've gone away to a college that really isn't that far away at all.
I go to IPFW.
IPFW.
I go to IPFW.
To find out more about college life at IPFW, go to our website. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
What's it like when you hear your calling? Will you remember where you were? Will you ignore it? Or will you listen? What if it calls you to go halfway around the world? To share your skills, to serve people you've never met, to do things you never thought you could. Peace Corps, life is calling. How far will you go?
You're not going out dressed like that.
New opinions are always suspected and usually opposed, without any other reason, but because they are not already common. So just chill, Mom.
Citing John Locke is not going to get you out of this one.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW, an exploration into the key ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of key books and writings. Find out more by logging on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
Well, back at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio. Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. Even Steven after the first two games, as after a dominating effort in game number one, Steve, where Pacific more or less handled the Mastodons, and they looked in pretty good position to take care of game number two, leading by 4 points at one point. IPFW got off the deck, they rallied, they took game number two by the score of 31-29, and now it's a best 2 out of 3, and really it could be anybody's match. I think the Dons really got some positive momentum when they could have been staring an 0-2 deficit in the face.
Oh, absolutely. They had a big block. They had a couple of key service errors by Pacific. Some big defensive plays in that second game. Ultimately, though, the two players they needed to step it up did. They got much better production out of both Darryl Shank and Ben Duckworth. Darryl Shank had 5 kills in game 2 alone, and Ben Duckworth had 4 kills in game 2 alone. So 9 kills in total when together they combined for only 3 kills in the first game. So they tripled their production in game 2, and I think ultimately that made the difference.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because we talk about how both of these teams are freshman-laden. Each only has 2 seniors, so freshmen would have to step up. And frankly, in game number 2, with the starting center in game 1, Corey Stewart, you talked about this. He's got an ailing hand. It's like a piano player or a golfer. You need your hands if you're going to be a setter, and he just really couldn't go. He wasn't that effective in game number 1. So here comes the freshman Dan Mader, and he did step things up in game number 2, and then you have Eric Ficino, who is a freshman setter for Pacific. So freshmen have had to play key roles in this match so far, and with each team only having 2 seniors, freshman-laden, they are sprinkled with juniors, but clearly you're going to need the leadership from the guys you expect to get leadership from, and then you're going to have the freshmen say, I'm going to grow tonight, grow with this program, and we'll see what happens now in the remainder of the match, and I think that third game, whoever comes out with the early momentum in game 3, I think that'll be critical.
Oh, absolutely. And, right now it's the Dons who should be coming into game 3 with the momentum, having just won game 2. And it was a tough, gritty win. There was really still not a lot of rhythm on either side of the net. And I like to say it's like you just got to grind those games out. I mean, it's not the prettiest. It doesn't look great, but you want to get more points in the other team, and they did. And so maybe they can move forward.
Well, you talk about quick points, and here are some of the replays. And there is a big swing by Oliver Cook as he wiped it off the middle block. And then returning the favor, Pacific tries, but a great dig by Marisi. And here comes one of the freshmen, Big Phil Peterson. The change of pace as he dinks it over. The Dons really stepping it up. What a reaction that time by Brigson, the one-handed block. And we talked about the Dons needed improved play out of the back row. There was a great back set, and putting it away is Shank. Again, Shank, and Peterson leading the Dons with 7 kills. So IPFW, you can see, finding more rhythm in game number 2. And that time there was an errant swing by Pacific, and Mater running all over the floor. Good play by Shank to wipe it off the block. So you're getting the play you expect out of guys like Shank and Duckworth. And then, of course, there are the Dons really stepping it up with the middle block. And
I think that was the block right there that put him on to game point.
So there's a look at the score. Pacific taking game number 1, 30-25. The Dons rallying to take game number 2, 31-29. So, again, even Steven, and it'll be a best 2 out of 3. We'll take a break here. It is the intermission between games 2 and 3 here. IPFW and the University of Pacific. We'll be back as we get ready for game number 3 from CATV Sports. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
I guess I'm like most kids. I work hard, I go to class, and I want a degree that's going to mean something. I had offers from other universities, but I wanted the best out of my college choice. I wanted a great education and the campus life to go with it. Student housing, Division I sports, I found it all right here at IPFW. Hey, this is my university, my life, so it's got to feel right. I'm really glad I chose IPFW. I love it here. Go to their website.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, 2 great names.
Where would the world be today without religion? For better or worse, religion has been around as long as people have, and religious revolutions have existed almost as long.
On the next edition of Words of Change, we'll explore the 3 major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, how they are alike and how they are different. Join me, Bill McKinney.
And me, Daisha Charlesworth, as we bring you Words of Change, a look into the Remnant Trust at IPFW, Sunday evenings at 5:30 on College Access Television.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Hey, what?
Hey there. Apa apa?
Mir. Shanti.
Nhiệt chẳng nhóc đi.
We all want the same thing.
Peace.
And Rotary clubs are making it happen.
Lucky.
Through international scholarships for young people to promote peace and understanding around the world. Rotary. Humanity in motion.
This isn't mine.
Men often oppose a thing merely because they've had no agency in planning it, or because it may have been planned by those whom they dislike.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW. It's an exploration of the great ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of more than 50 key books and writings. So, will that be paper or plastic? Log on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
Back at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW right here in the Summit City, Fort Wayne, Indiana. IPFW and Pacific all even at a game apiece. The Tigers taking game number 1, 30-25, while the Mastodons rally to take game number 2 to square this best 3 out of 5 as they win 31-29. Stephen Florio, Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. The teams have returned to the floor to tune up for game number 3. Steve, take a look at some of those stats from the first 2 games in this match.
Well, as we mentioned, game 1, Pacific out-hit IPFW 400 to .032, 40% to 3%. But then again, IPFW flipped the table there and hit 312 to Pacific's 194. So a much improved hitting percentage by IPFW. So on the match, actually, now what you have is you have IPFW hitting 313 over Pacific's 194. I don't know if that's accurate.
I think that was for game number 2.
Yeah,
actually.
I think what we're looking to, it says matchup day, then what we're looking at is game 2, some of game 2 statistics. Well, I've got some statistics in front of me here. You've got IPFW, they've got 16 kills. I'm sorry, 27 kills. You've got Pacific with 27 kills, so they're even in kills. But that hitting percentage, again, in game 2 was the difference. And you want to give that to Darryl Shank and Ben Duckworth, who really upped their game, getting 5 kills for Darryl Shank and 4 kills for Ben Duckworth. To give you an idea, in game 1, Ben Duckworth only had 1 kill and Darryl Shank had 2. So what a difference for the Dons. They're the big guns, and you need them firing.
Now we are just about set for action. In game number 3, this now becomes a best 2 out of 3. And if you happen to be checking this match out tonight here on College Access Television Sports, hey, you might want to come out here and see it in person tomorrow night. Same 2 teams at 7 o'clock. It's just $5. There will be no television tomorrow. Ficino puts it in play, and there is an overpass by Cook. So Ficino shoots the ball across, and the swing that time by Pratt is blocked by the Mastodons. So IPFW draws first blood in game number 2, leading 1-0.
And they seize an opportunity on a mistake made by Ali Cook. He passed the ball over the net, gave Pacific a free chance, and they misfired on that. Big block, way to get it back.
Duckworth, I was about to say he had his serving woes in game number 2, and he continues them in game number 3. Uncharacteristic for a guy who has been such a great server, especially with aces so far this season. Now here's Pratt with his big serve, bumped up by Shank. Mater to Cook, dug up that time by Ficino. Set comes across. What a cut swing that time by Borchin, but well, there's, I guess, a little debate here, but they're saying it is just a little bit wide. So says Patty Salvatore, the down official, and you can tell that Joe Workman, the coach of Pacific, not happy with that call.
Not happy with. None of the players were happy with it, and that's what I was saying in game 1. When the players argue, you tend to think they might have a case, and when they don't, you know the officials definitely got it right.
Big serve by Jonathan Meyer, and there is a swing by Pacific that wipes off the Dons' block for the kill. So we are tied 2-2 in game number 3. We're even at a game apiece. It's best 3 out of 5. Joe Forbes, who has 8 kills to lead everybody in this match with a little serve. Flipped up by Meyer. They come down the middle, and Oliver Cook puts it down. Another good set that time by Mater. A good ball for Ollie to handle.
It was really a very good pass, which enabled Dan Mater to be able to set his middle hitter. We call that being in system, when the setter doesn't have to run to chase the ball down. They could just work from what we call target, or right there at the net, sort of in the middle.
Serve flipped up by Borchin. That time, Daly, the Dons handle him. And there's the swing by Duckworth, and he rips that off the arms that time of Eric Ficino. So now the Dons have a 4-2 advantage, and just that quickly, we have a timeout taken by Joe Wortman, the head coach of the University of Pacific. So the Dons lead 4-2 in game number 3 on CATV Sports. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
What do college students want? That's a question we'll explore on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, when results of a recent undergraduate student survey are discussed. Most people are aware of the movie images of martial arts, but did you know there is real art in martial arts? We'll show you some examples. And we'll learn about IPFW's Japanese Saturday School, all on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, Sundays at noon on College Access Television.
Back at the Gate Center on the campus of IPFW, coming out of the timeout, and the Dons lead 4-2 in game number 3. And boy, Joe Wortman quick to pull the trigger on an early timeout here in game number 3, Steve.
Well, he knows that the Dons have some momentum winning game 2 and coming out of what you can call halftime and taking a quick lead. And he doesn't want his guys to just let it go like that. I mean, it could slip that quickly. He knows the Dons still haven't found their rhythm, and he doesn't want them to.
Oliver Cook will serve for the Dons. Snaps it over. Flipped up that time by Borchin. Comes across. Hendershot off the block. A diving save that time by Meyer. Now they joust at the net. Let's see who was into the antenna. And I believe that time it was Hendershot. So give the Dons the point. And this is their biggest lead at any point in this match. 3 points, 5-2 here in game 3. And now again, Joe Wortman wants an explanation. He can't believe it was his player who got tangled up in the antenna.
Well, the Dons just keep working, and they're going to catch some breaks. I believe it was a good call by the down official.
Flipped up by Bowes. Set his shot across, and there is the big swing by Borchin, and good night.
But a good rotation for the Dons there. I mean, anytime your middle can go back and rip off 3 serves, that's a good thing. Especially he had one of the digs there, so when your middle is making digs, you know things are going pretty good.
Jeff Hendershot, one of just 2 seniors on this Pacific roster, the high toss. And he serves it right into the belly of the net. So now the Dons move back on top by 3, 6-3, thanks to the service error by Hendershot.
So the Dons extended both those rallies with digs and then transition attacks, and Pacific continues to give the quick points, so this could be a nice swing for the Dons.
Mader with the big serve, bumped up by Borschen. Short ball coming down the middle is Pratt. Dons have a chance. Well, shooting the set across is Duckworth, and Shank gets it through the block. And now it's the Dons moving ahead 7-3.
And another dig by the Dons, again, extending the rally. You definitely want to be able to bring the ball back, no quick points, and they're doing a nice job of extending the rallies and playing defense. 3 digs.
Mader the big serve. Pratt shoots it up. Hendershot bumped up neatly that time by Meyer. A bump pass by Marisi, then coming out with the hit was Duckworth, saved by Hendershot. Now coming right through the middle, that time is Pratt, saved by Mader. Bump set that time by Duckworth. Trouble. It's an overpass. What a great dig that time by Meyer. It's back on the Pacific side. The set comes down the middle, and getting it down is Sean Daly. But the Dons did a great job of keeping the ball alive. Arnie Ball is up off the bench, and he is applauding the great effort by the Dons to keep that ball in play.
Yeah, you can't win all the points. You're not going to win 30-0, but if you can fight like that for every point, you're going to break the other team on the other side of the net down. They're going to say, what do we have to do to score?
Borschen with a big serve. What a pass that time by Marisi. There's a little runner dropped over by Shank, but it's saved by Pacific. Free ball is bumped over. Marisi to Mader. They back set. Loading it up that time was Duckworth, but what a save one-handed by Bowes. Now another big swing that time by Hendershot. The Dons will save. Free ball is played over by Berg. Here comes the set. Here comes the swing. It's through the block, and Marisi save it. No! And getting it down that time was Kevin Pratt. Wow, what a rally that was. 7-5 now. The Dons lead is pared down to 2.
And here's the good news. The Dons are making Pacific earn their points right now. They're not giving away easy points, hitting errors. They're making Pacific earn it. And if that's the way it's got to be for the whole match, it's going to be a hard way to win the match.
Borschen with a rocket, but dug up neatly by Jonathan Meyer. To Duckworth. Oh, does he ever wax that off the block that time? Daly didn't have the answer. And the Dons move back on top. 8-5.
So great defense by the Dons, I believe, gives them really command of this third game. I mean, obviously the score says they're in command, but Pacific hasn't really gotten any free passes.
Shank, the service error.
That's my fault, huh, Ken?
There's a free pass, and that makes it 8-6.
I'll take the blame on that one.
Now Sean Daly, the big 6'7" freshman middle out of Moore Park, California. His big serve. Marisi to his knees. They come down the middle, and the swing by Berg finds the floor. So the Dons again move back on top 9-6. They haven't had many points to play with as far as a lead in this match, but they do here in game 3. We are squared at a game apiece.
Well, we've got two lineup changes by Coach Ball. You've got Nate Berg in the middle. You've got J.J. Meyer hitting outside for Phil Peterson.
And Meyer loads one up off the block, saved by Bowes. Back set goes to Hendershot. They say a Don touched it, so they play on. There's another block by IPFW, but it'll be a wipe-off kill by Pratt. I think the Dons think that shouldn't have been a touch, but that was a swing into the net.
It sure looked like it was below the tape, too. It didn't even look anywhere near the blockers. So one of the reasons J.J. Meyer is in is that he brings a little more ball control, I think, than Phil Peterson, and that's what we've seen, a lot more defense already by the Dons.
Ficino with a little lollipop serve. They come across, and Meyer drills it right off the block of Hendershot that time. So the Dons move back ahead by 3, 10-7.
And that's some crafty attacking there by Meyer, because he's definitely outsized by Hendershot there. And he did a nice job. He purposely hit that ball off his hands and out of bounds. That's called a tool shot.
There is the ace that we were waiting for from Ben Duckworth. He's one of the tops in the land, and there is a huge bazooka serve by Duckworth. Dons move ahead 11-7. Good look at Ben, the sophomore out of St. Louis. Pounds another one that rides up the arm that time of Borchen. They back set, and there is an airmail shot that time by Kevin Pratt. So now the Dons with a 5-point advantage, 12-7. Dan Hauser says so as far as that swing being long. So the Dons now trying to create a little space. Duckworth, change of pace, it crawls over, and it'll be an ace.
And there's a break for the Dons.
Yeah.
See, that's just the way it goes. You just keep working, and eventually the breaks will go your way. They were going against the Dons earlier. Now they're starting to go for them. They're starting to get some good calls, and they're getting some balls clipping the tape like that.
Ben goes back to the power serve. A diving Bowes keeps it alive. Now a free ball is flipped over, that time by Hendershot. Dons with a chance to Meyer, and he's blocked that time by Kevin Pratt. So that stops the string of points, largely on the serving of Duckworth, and that makes it a 13-8 game.
And that's the trade-off you're going to get when you put a smaller attacker like Meyer on the floor over Peterson. You're going to get a little more defense and ball control, but you're going to give up a little offense.
Now the back set comes to Duckworth. He just rips that off the body of the libero, Mark Bowes.
But they don't really need Meyer to supply too much offense. I mean, if he can keep playing defense the way he has and passing serve the way he has, he can leave the offense up to Shank and Duckworth and Cook and Berg.
Jason Meyer, a freshman out of Hamburg, New York. Big serve, bumped up. Bowes does it. Now Hendershot plays the free ball, and it's flipped back up by Marisi. Shank loads it up. Kept alive that time by Pratt. Hendershot dug up by Duckworth. They're going to set it down the middle, and the dink by Meyer, a lunging save that time by Ficino. Coming out of the back with the dink is Pratt. This is the rally of the game. They come to Shank. Shank, what a dig that time by Bowes. Ficino. Just a ball flipped over by Borchin. Mater with the selection. It goes to Shank. Shank drills it down. What a swing that time by Darryl Shank. That may be the rally of the match. Shank feels it. The Dons go ahead 15-8.
And Darryl Shank and Ben Duckworth, they do such a good job of hitting any type of set. If it's a good set, if it's a mediocre set, they take big, aggressive, fearless swings, and it pays off more than it doesn't.
Meyer with the serve, bumped up by Bowes. Ficino, short ball, and that is drilled that time by Joe Forbes. Boy, Marisi, though, has just been all over the floor, sacrificing the body, digging balls right and left. And this is one of the things I've liked about this match from the IPFW perspective, Steve. It's what you guys call getting a lot of touches. You're touching a lot of the swings of the opposition.
And they're extending all the rallies. We've seen less and less quick points. I think we can agree on that.
Mater, Shank, again, drills it right off the block of Sean Daly. The Dons are just taking control of this game.
We've reduced our errors. The Dons have reduced their errors. They have touched a lot more balls on defense and in turn extended the rallies, and they're playing a better full game than Pacific is right now.
Ollie Cook snaps it over. Borchin. Here comes the back set to Hendershot. What a dig that time by Meyer, but goes all the way from the back and goes beyond the baseline. So that was a big swing by Hendershot. Draws Pacific to within 6 now, though. It's 16-10. The Dons, I believe, just have to start thinking just side out, just side out. Now here comes Jeff Hendershot. Great name for a volleyball player. Serve bumped up neatly by Meyer. He's been a force in the latter part of this match. What a swing by Duckworth, but dug up by Hendershot. They come down the middle to Pratt. Pratt dug up neatly by Meyer. What a great pass. Mater with an awkward set. Kept alive, though. They battle, and the ball is still another overpass, trying to flip it off that time to Daly. What a save by Duckworth. The set to Shank. What a block that time by Ficino. Mater sets it. Here comes Shank. He tried to wipe it off the block and missed everything. Wait a second.
And the Dons, their hard work is going to pay off. They're going to have a net violation on Pacific on that swing by Duckworth. You can't, the ball has to be down.
Yeah.
The ball has to be down before you can call it a hitting error. So
I think Hendershot was in the net.
Yeah, the Pacific was definitely in the net. And it's because that ball was still flying through the air. Until that ball hits something or hits the ground, you cannot call it a hitting error.
Right.
So the net violation happened before the ball hit something, hit out of bounds, and it's Don's point. And there's that hard work again, grinding it out and paying off for the point.
And there's a great break because that ball wound up about 3 or 4 rows in the seats. Flips the tape, does the serve of Mater. The back set comes to Hendershot. He tries the dink. That time Berg gets a hand on it. Duckworth hits it right into the top of the tape. A little anxious was Duckworth, and he signals that was my fault. He thought he had a decent ball to handle and maybe a little anxious. So now the Dons lead still pretty sizable at 17-11, and here is Jason Borchin.
The adrenaline's got to be pumping on the Dons side. They're playing spectacular defense right now.
Big serve, but Marisi, what an excellent pass.
That'll work.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not how, it's how many. There was kind of a mistime and a mishit by Berg. It becomes a dink. it becomes a point, and it becomes an 18-11 IPFW lead.
And I got to say right now, in my opinion, 2 impact players on this game 3 is Mike Marisi and J.J. Meyer.
Yep.
Both of them chipping in with so many digs already, and they've put the spirit of hard work back into this team right now. It's really great to see.
Shank with the big serve. The set is shot across. There's Pratt loading it up, and it goes off the arm of a diving Mater.
And two Dons on the ground for that attack, so it was a nice swing, but the Dons are just showing you are going to have to make it your very best every time if you're going to want to score on us. That's a lot to ask of any team.
Daryl Shank has 12 kills for the Dons. Joe Forbes has 9 for Pacific. They've really spread the wealth. You have Forbes with 9, Pratt, Daly, and Hendershot with 7. After Shank's 12 kills, you have Duckworth with 8 and Peterson with 7. And now they're doing a little floor maintenance where a lot of perspiration is, as Steve pointed out. A lot of Dons diving to the floor. So they've cleaned that up, and we are set to go with Sean Daly with his big serve. Flips the tape, but bumped up by Meyer. Mater right down the middle. And can they dig it? No. Give the kill to Shank. That time Borshin could not dig the ball accurately, and the Dons are really taking charge, leading 19-12. Berg will come out, and here's the first appearance of Matt Plisky, the junior out of St. Charles, Missouri. Matt is a libero, but he'll come in to serve.
And I'd say the Dons have found a little bit of rhythm here.
Yes, they have. I agree,
There's a lot
Steve.
more energy out there. A lot more energy.
There's a dink that time, and it gets down. A pancake attempt by Shank, but the little dink that time put down by Forbes. And now Berg comes out. Marisi rotates back in for IPFW at the libero slot.
The story of this game has been defense right now. Game 3 has absolutely been defense. It's all been by the Dons.
Eric Ficino, and it's an ace. Put a little starch on it, a little topspin. Shank ducked it thinking it was going long, and that topspin just grabbed the baseline. So give Ficino, the freshman setter out of Roseville, California, via Hawaii. Puts more pep on it, bumped up by Marisi. Mater sets it. Meyer! And I believe that grazed the arm of Ficino, so give Meyer the kill.
And, you know, Meyer is definitely in there because of his ball control. There's no doubt about it. It's like putting in baseball, putting a shortstop in who's not a great hitter but can really play some defense. It's the same thing. So anytime Meyer gets a kill, it's a bonus to the Dons.
Big serve by Duckworth, and there is an overpass that caroms off of one of the standards for the Nets, and that'll go down as an ace for Duckworth. So
a lot more quick
Ben Duckworth is finding his rhythm serving now.
A lot more quick points coming from Pacific side of the net right now, and that's been the name of the game for the Dons.
21-14. Duckworth bumped up by a diving Pratt. The short ball is set. What a swing that time by Joe Forbes. And I'll tell you what, it appeared as if that ball came up quickly, and Ficino again with the one-handed set. That's tough to get away with.
Oh, absolutely. He's a very talented young player there for Pacific. Nice pickup by them.
Pratt bumped up neatly by Shank. Duckworth with a drill, but Bowes with a good dig. Set comes across. Here comes Borchin. The Dons block it. Kept alive by Ficino. Now the set comes across to Hendershot. And Hendershot comes up with a moonshot. Hits it long and very, very, very deep. So now the Dons on top 22-15. And you can see Joe Wortman, the coach of Pacific, sees this game starting to slip away.
Well, the Dons are just simply outworking Pacific right now. That's the bottom line, and there's no easy answer to that.
No. You bring the lunch pail and the blue collar, you're just outworking a team.
Yep.
But Meyer commits the service error. So now checking in for Pacific will be Clay Ostrander in favor of Forbes. So Ostrander made it a brief appearance in game 2 to serve, and he committed a service error. Let's see if he has better luck this time. This team trails by 6. In game number 3, we're even at a game apiece. Ostrander with the big serve. Wow, but Marisi, what an excellent pass. Cook. Oh, what a pancake save that time by Ostrander, but the ball was all over the place. So it started with the great pass by Marisi. Yeah. And now the Dons are really in charge, 23-16 of game number 3. So Arnie Ball will go to his bench. There you see the coach. Now a little conversation with Ali Cook, his middle, out of Hamburg, Germany. Ivan Matos, the freshman out of Puerto Rico, is in for the Dons to serve. Ooh, they come out of the back and the swing that time by Pratt. But we have, we have somebody over the net.
Well, what the actual call was is if you're in the back row, you have what's called the attack line or the 3-meter line.
You're not allowed the 3-meter line?
You have to jump from behind it, and he stepped on it or over it when he jumped to hit it.
Now, the serve that time by Matos is, again, out of sync, so a free ball has to be bumped over by Borchin. Mater with a good ball to handle, to Shank, and goodbye. He was one-on-one. Darrell pounded the ball around the block, put it deep in the far corner.
That was a sweet set by Mater, too. It was just hanging up there, waiting to be ripped.
Well, we've got a timeout called by Joe Wortman, the head coach of Pacific, with the Dons in total control, 25-16. And the latest Mastodon scores and stats are available on the World Wide Web at www.gomastodons.com. You can check up on the teams, the players, order tickets at the official Mastodon Athletics website. That is gomastodons.com. And by the way, we talked about the Summit League basketball tournaments coming up, with the women playing this Sunday in Sioux Falls, South Dakota against IUPUI. You can go to the Mastodon website and you can actually listen to that game. IPFW plays IUPUI at 1 p.m. Fort Wayne time on Sunday. Mike Moss will have the call on the Mastodon website. You get on gomastodons.com, go to the Stretch Internet icon, click on that, and you'll have the chance to listen to IPFW IUPUI at 1 p.m. as the Dons women, winners of 6 of their last 7, take on IUPUI in the first round of the Summit League Women's Basketball Tournament. The men will play Oakland, and that will be a night game. That will be at 9:30 Fort Wayne time. You'll also be able to access that on the internet as well, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I was just watching the teams on their benches, and IPFW looked like, can we get this time over with and get back out there? You know, they were antsy, they were milling around, communicating, and I looked at Pacific's bench, and they're all sitting down, listening to Coach, very subdued over there. They just look a little frustrated, a little lost, and really, here's the deal. IPFW has stepped up the game, and they are working way harder than Pacific right now.
Well, here comes Hendershot. What a block that time by Shank. Oh, Arnie Ball is up off the bench, and he loves it. And Matos with a great serve. And the Dons are feeling it. A huge 10-point bulge at 26-16. Ivan Matos, that time, the errant serve. 26-17.
Good run, though. He came in and he gave a few points to IPFW. It was a very nice job. And the Dons are going to go right back to work. I mean, it's really it's up to Pacific right now. They need to make a choice. Are they going to step up their work level and match that of the Dons, if they even can, or are they just going to let this match slip away?
Hendershot with the serve. Now the set comes across, and Shank dug up by Bowes. He shoots the ball across. Borchin, and the Dons block him. Berg along with Mater and also Shank. Now the Dons in total control of this one. A 10-point advantage as they lead 27-17. And they are just a few points away from taking a 2-1 lead in this match after dropping the opener 30-25. Big serve by Mater, bumped up by Bowes, and the swing that time by Sean Daly. He cuts it wide, 28-17, so this is not a matter of if, but when, as far as the Dons winning Game 3.
Absolutely, and the Dons just want to shut the door here. They don't even want to let Pacific run a few points. They just want to keep pushing them right now.
Here comes Borchin. Does he get it through? He hit the antenna. I thought initially he may have gotten it through the block, but he hit the antenna. Fans on their feet here at Gates, as is the tradition.
Talk about quick points. That's 3 hitting errors in a row.
Yep. So game point, Mater. Bumped up by Pratt. Bit of a run for Ficino. Ooh, Hendershot is dug up neatly by Duckworth. Berg tries to flip it over, but there's Hendershot. Ficino shoots it across. Borchin through the block. A diving save that time by Mater. There's a bump by Meyer. Shank loads it up and gets it down. What great defense by the Dons. Fittingly ended by the swing by Shank. Fans on their feet here at the Gate Center as the Dons absolutely wallop Pacific in game number 3, 30-17. IPFW now leads this match 2-1. We'll see if they can win it in 4. They'll go for the clincher after we take this timeout from the Gate Sports Center. You're watching IPFW Mastodon Volleyball on CATV Sports.
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Where would the world be today without religion? For better or worse, religion has been around as long as people have, and religious revolutions have existed almost as long.
On the next edition of Words of Change, we'll explore the 3 major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, how they are alike and how they are different. Join me, Bill McKinney.
And me, Daisha Charlesworth, as we bring you Words of Change, a look into the remnant trust at IPFW, Sunday evenings at 5:30 on College Access Television.
You're not going out dressed like that.
New opinions are always suspected and usually opposed, without any other reason but because they are not already common. So just chill, Mom.
Citing John Locke is not going to get you out of this one.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW, an exploration into the key ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of key books and writings. Find out more by logging on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
Well, back at the Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Women's Associate Head Coach Stephen Florio, Ken Horman here on CATV Sports. Delighted you could join us tonight for IPFW Mastodon Volleyball. And Steve, boy, what a different team this has been. They now lead 2-1 after smoking Pacific 30-17. You made an interesting observation about the Dons have changed their uniform tops.
Yeah, well, it's really humid and warm in here, and I can't imagine they're sweating a whole lot out there. Especially, they're working really hard. I can't. You could just feel it. You could feel, though, I'm getting exhausted watching them work, you know? And I said that in the beginning of Game 3, and even if they don't win some of the points they work hard for, they're sending a statement across the net saying, you're going to have to work this hard or harder to beat us.
Yeah.
To score every point, you're going to have to work as hard as you just did, and it looks like right now Pacific doesn't want any of that.
Well, Daryl Shank leads the Dons with 15 kills. Joe Forbes pacing the Tigers with 11. But, Stephen, I am very impressed with the Dons' hitting percentage in game number 3. That more or less tells the tape right there.
Oh, yeah, 441. It's just steadily on the rise. I mean, Daryl Shank and Ben Duckworth were definitely the game changers in game 2 as they sort of sparked the Dons. But I have to say, it's been the ball control and the defense, which is one of the reasons this hitting percentage is so high now. Mike Marisi and Jonathan Meyer in particular, all the Dons, by the way, have been playing great defense, but those two in particular really have changed the tone of the way the Dons are going to play this match, and they're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Play defense, bring the ball back, and keep playing defense. And it's worked. The Dons have 40 digs on the match. They had 19 digs in Game 3. They had 21 digs in Game 1 and 2 combined.
Yep.
So they almost matched the dig total for games 1 and 2 in one game alone. They doubled their production on defense, and that is the story. And Pacific either needs to step up and work as hard as they possibly can, or there's no chance for them because the Dons have kicked it into the high gear.
Well, we are just about set to go as Dan Hauser wants to make sure everybody in their place. He signals let's go, and it will be Duckworth to start out in game number 4. Don's looking to close it out, leading 2-1. Coming right down the middle, there's a great dig by Marisi. It comes back to the Pacific side, but the Dons kept it alive. Now they load it up, and there is a change of pace by Ostrander. So the Dons with a chance, hit into the block. Ball is still alive. Now they come back. And a swing that time by Meyer as Jonathan Meyer just barely misses going down the line. So it's 1-0 Pacific to start game number 4.
You know, and okay, so that's a point for Pacific, but lots of defense already by the Dons. And Pacific, are they going to want to earn 30 points that way? I don't think so.
Meyer hits it through the block, bumped up by Pratt. Set comes across, and there is a swing off the block that time by Dylan Walker. Dons keep it alive, but there's a mishit.
And it just comes to a point where, as a team, you can get frustrated and look and go, what do we have to do to put the ball down on this team? And that's when you start trying to be more perfect with your swings, and that's when you start getting frustrated, and that's what the Dons are doing right now.
Well, here comes the back set. It goes to Duckworth. Duckworth wipes it through the block. And so give Duckworth the kill. The Dons now close to within 2-1 here early in game number 4. Dons lost the opener 30-25, rallied to take game 2 31-29, and then just torched the Tigers 30-17 in game number 3. They trail 2-1 in game 4. Meyer with the serve, bumped up neatly by Bowes. Ficino, a back set, and there's a huge swing by Ostrander. So Ostrander getting some more playing time in game number 4. Clay Ostrander, a 6'5 junior out of Wheaton, Illinois, now 3-1 in favor of Pacific.
And all 3 of those points by Pacific, though, they've had to earn. There was no gimmies by IPFW.
Kaz Hindley also getting some time. Coming right down the middle is Ollie Cook, and he wipes it off the block of Pacific. So the Dons draw to within 3-2. So it looks like Joe Wortman, the coach of Pacific, has shifted his lineup a little bit here for game 4.
Just a little.
Ollie Cook, a little floater. Flipped up that time by Dylan Walker. There's a dink attempt by Forms. Don sniff it out. Back set. Duckworth hits it into the net. So that'll make it 4-2 in favor of the Tigers.
And that's the way Pacific wants their points to be. They want the Mastodons to give them the points because at a 30-point game, they're definitely not going to be able to outwork the Dons. So they want Dons to give a couple freebies.
Clay Ostrander to serve. Goes for the power. Grazes the tape. And that'll go down as an ace that time as it handcuffed Jonathan Meyer. So now 5-2 Tigers. But when these teams met back on March 4th of 2006, the match went 5. Could history repeat itself? Dons have an overall lead of 6-1 against Pacific. They've won the last 5 meetings. Mater will set to Duckworth. Duckworth off the top of the block. What a diving save by Pratt. Back set by Bowes, and a block by Shank on Ostrander. Oh, what a play by Darryl Shank, and the Dons draw to within 5-3.
The Dons, their blocking has picked up as they've extended the rallies and made Pacific work. They've gotten a little more predictable sets and not as quality sets, and they've capitalized with a couple more blocks.
Mater with the big serve. To his knees goes Bowes. The swing that time by Pratt is blocked by the Dons. They'll try it again. Oh, what a quick arm that time by Dylan Walker. Yow. Poured that right through the block, and now 6-3 Tigers.
Really nice swing right down the line there. It's a lower percentage hit than across court, but the yield typically, if you can get it in, is going to be more likely to be a kill.
Dylan Walker with the high toss, and he sends that toward the concession stand. Draws the Dons to within 6-4. So Darryl Shank, who one of the floor leaders on this team for the Mastodons, will serve it for IPFW. Big serve, a diving save by Bowes. Tried to flip it over was Ficino, but sniffed out by IPFW. There's the dink attempt that time by Meyer. Does he wipe it off the block? No.
Oh, he's a small outside attacker.
Yep,
it was a low set.
Stuffed.
It was really tight to the net. That's what we call a trap set, T-R-A-P, trap set, meaning that you really don't have anywhere to go with it. You're trapped. And he didn't really have anywhere to go with that.
Set comes across, Meyer off the block, and that'll be a kill for IPFW. But Jonathan Meyer has made his presence felt since he entered this match a while back.
Well, he had 5 digs in game 3, which is a great total in men's volleyball. 5 digs in one game is huge.
Here's Nathaniel Berg, the junior out of Fort Wayne Dwenger, a little floater. Ooh, kind of a bad pass there. And when they try to flip it over, Ficino tried to pull a surprise party, but the Dons were there saying no, and they put it right back on the Pacific side. IPFW now trails just 7-6. Nathaniel Berg will serve again.
That was a nice job by Meyer. He's chipping in. He's got a kill and a block in this run through the front row.
A dink attempt that time, and it's blocked by Duckworth. That time, again, an errant set, and Pratt tried to go with the left hand. The Dons have evened things at 7 apiece.
And we're in a warm gym right now, and you've got this is going to be a match of who can outwork the other team. And right now the Dons are winning that, and you got to wonder, can Pacific match that energy level?
They come down the middle, and the Dons are all over the floor. That time, Hinesley couldn't get it done. Now they're going to try it again. The back set, loading it up is Ostrander, and there is a big swing. It goes up in the rafters. Can they save it? A long run. They can't get it done. It went off of Berg and rattled around the rafters, also up into the basketball goal that is raised when you play a home volleyball match. Ball was loose like a pinball and finally hit the floor. So 8-7 now in favor of Pacific. Dons are having a bit of a laugh looking up there saying, I got it, you take it, where was it? Ficino snaps the ball over. What a save by a diving and a rolling Marisi. And hitting it off the top of the block is Duckworth. Crafty play by Ben, and it's 8-8.
And, that's the other thing, we talked right now about the work ethic and the defense by the Dons, but the other thing that's happening is the outside hitters have been getting a lot more hits off the block instead of trying to hit straight to the ground, and that seems to be working a lot better for the Dons.
Duckworth with the big serve. That's an ace. Ben Duckworth now has it dialed in as that just peeled the floor, and Kevin Pratt could not react, so the Dons move ahead 9-8 here in game number 4.
And Pacific, they look a little tired, they look a little frustrated, and that's a bad combo. I tell you, I'm in the gym very often. We practice the same times as the Dons, and we know how hard Coach Ball works them every day in practice.
Well, a short ball is set, and managing to get it down that time is Chaz Hinesley. Hinesley is a freshman out of Northfield, Illinois.
So this is just another day at the office for the Dons. I mean, their practices are even a lot more intense than this match is so far.
Mater, which way is he going to go? The short ball to Ollie Cook. And it briefly handcuffed Pratt, but they'll play a free ball over, and Dylan Walker can't get it done. So the Dons go back on top 10-9. It was a pretty good dig off the hop by Mark Bowes.
And I get to see the men's teams practice at firsthand, and they go full tilt for 3 hours every day. So this raising their work level is no problem for them.
Meyer, who's been a huge force in this match, unfortunately not that time as he commits the service error to make it 10-10.
And that's a quick point for Pacific. And again, Pacific is just hoping for those right now.
Yeah.
They're hoping because I honestly don't know if they have it in them to outwork the Dons and earn enough points to win this game 4.
Hinesley, overpassed by Marisi and flipped down that time by Joe Forbes.
But 2 quick points in a row, a service error and then an overpass. So if the Dons can just limit those, I think they'll be all right.
So Hinesley, as you see, Forbes at the net with a little signal behind the back of what the strategy is. Again, time taken while they wipe some of the perspiration off the floor. Steve pointed out. Hey, a word we haven't used much, heat and humidity in this building.
Well, it's 60 degrees here today, so.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
There comes a set, and Daryl Shank with authority hits it just a little bit wide. Just shaved it a smidge wide, so now it's 12-10 in favor of Pacific.
But take note, that's a service error, an overpass error, and now a hitting error right in a row, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden it's 12-10 in the blink of an eye.
Marisi again to his knees for the dig. This time Shank says, I will not make the mistake. Daryl Shank puts a dent in the floor, and the Dons creep to within 1 again at 12-11. Nathaniel Berg back in for the Dons at the front row. Ollie Cook to serve for IPFW. Flips it up. Walker, they come down the middle, and they can't get it done. That time Forbes is denied, so we're even at a dozen apiece.
And, with the defense the Dons are playing and the tenacity with which they're playing, Pacific can't afford to throw balls into the net like that. Nah, they're fighting for their lives right now, down to 1-2.
Cook with a little floater. Ficino with the back set. Ostrander, I think they're going to say he wiped it off the Dons block, and indeed he did. So now 13-12 in favor of Pacific. I think this is a spot, Steve, where if IPFW can string together a few points, they can take control of the match.
Absolutely. I mean, because really, I believe they already have control of the match.
Yeah, I agree. Clay Ostrander.
Oh, foot fault.
And they get him. And he knew it.
You called it. Yeah, I had felt he had foot faulted last time he served, so it's good that the line judge got it this time.
13-13. Dan Mader. And that'll crawl over the net. They're going to get him out of sync a little bit. They're going to have to jump out, and what a swing that time by Dylan Walker. Well, so much for out of sync. Dylan Walker said, out of sync, I'll show you, and he just unloaded a cannonball. Wow. And I think that caught the Dons off guard, too. They weren't expecting that.
No, you don't see a shot like that very often, especially with a triple block loaded up on him, just camping out, waiting on him.
Well, here's Walker. Let's see what he comes up with the serve. Got a lot of topspin on that. Mader will shoot it way across to Duckworth. Duckworth, what a dig attempt that time by Bowes, but it knocked him flat on his back, and the ball was flared wide into the seats, so now 14 apiece. There's a good look at Daryl Shank, the sophomore out of London, Ontario. Arnie Ball has had great success with Canada. High toss by Shank, and he hits that long.
Well,
I almost could tell from the toss.
Though, yeah. I mean, they've been pouring on. They've got a lot more production off their serve, so.
Well, we have timeout on the floor, 15-14 Pacific here in game number 4. We'll take a break on CATV Sports. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
Do you have everything you need? Paper, pencils?
We only ask that you do your best. And make you a snack.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Back at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, Stephen Florio, Kent Horman here on CATV. And the Dons trail game number 4, 15-14, but they lead the match 2-1. Again, these same two teams will meet here again tomorrow night. It's a weekend doubleheader with the University of Pacific in town. There will be no television tomorrow night, so get yourself $5 and some extra money for concessions. Come out here to the Gate Center, 7 o'clock first serve. They've got good grub out here, whether it's the beverages, whether it's the popcorn, or Fisher's famous popcorn, or the hot dogs. Come on out here and enjoy a great volleyball match. This has been a dandy. Now Joe Forbes will serve with a 1-point lead for Pacific in game number 4. His team trails 2-1, a floater. Bumped up by Marisi. Mader back sets Duckworth. And he was blocked, and the Dons can't track it down, so Pacific answers, and they move ahead 16-14.
Well, again, here's the situation. The Dons just need to keep grinding. They're not going to win them all, but they just need to keep working them out every point. And again, they're going to start getting those breaks that they did in game 3.
Forbes, little flipper that grazes the net. Mader. And that time, that's kept alive as, well, let's see now. Meyer wiped it off the block, but now they're saying 4 hits on the Dons.
Yeah, I'm all the way over. We're all the way over here. It's really hard for me to see who that contacted. It did come down and hit Jonathan Meyer, so possibly that was the first contact.
Arnie Ball not happy with the call, so he calls a timeout. And he wants to talk it over with his team, and I also think he's trying to break the momentum of Pacific. So speaking of Arnie Ball, hey, get the inside set on the hard-hitting, high-flying IPFW men's volleyball program every Wednesday, Thursday on College Access Television. And we've got some other interesting information as far as IPFW volleyball is concerned, because tonight they are playing out of conference as they're taking on the University of Pacific. But here is where things stand in conference in the Midwestern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association. Ball State off to a great start, 4-0 in the league, 8-4 overall. Then comes Ohio State at 4-1. The Buckeyes 7-up and 8 down. Lewis, the preseason pick to win the MIVA, 3-1 in league play. How about that? 12-3 overall. Then come the Dons, 7-5 overall, but 1-3 in the MIVA. Loyola 0-4 in the conference, but 8-6 overall. And as you pointed out, Steve, one of their wins against then number 1 Penn State.
Yeah, huge win for a team that's 0-4 in their conference. So just goes to show that these conference standings can be really misleading. Every team that you saw just there is really, really strong this year. It's really going to be a toss-up when it comes to conference tournament time. So coming out of timeout, we got Dons down 14-17. We'll see who they choose to go to off this serve. We've got Nate Berg in front row. We've got Duckworth. I'd imagine we're going to see Duckworth get a swing here.
Dons need a point here. Flipped up by Shank. They come right down the middle, and Nathan Berg just smokes it. The elevator is going down, and now it's 17-15.
Yeah, Nate Berg, he epitomizes hard work and enthusiasm for volleyball, and he's a nice guy to have on the floor because he just loves playing, and really it's infectious.
The floater, and here comes the set. The swing that time by Pratt, and I believe we had a Mastodon in the net. So that makes the swing a moot point. That also makes it 18-15 in favor of Pacific. Again, the Dons need to start making something happen before we get deep into the 20s. Eric Ficino, the freshman setter, snaps the ball over. Kind of an errant pass by Shank, long run for Mater, but a swing that time by Meyer is blocked by Pratt.
Well, the Dons ball control is taking a small step back here. I mean, Pacific's getting more serves in and they're more aggressive, so that's part of the reason. But the Dons just need to tighten it up, get it back to where it was in game 3, and it'll be all right.
And Ficino serves it wide. Boy, Marisi alertly was yelling that ball was going wide, so a service error committed by Ficino. And now it's 19-16 in favor of the Tigers. Let's see if Duckworth can come up with some of that big serving he came up with in game number 3. He loads it up, bumped up by Walker. A swing by Pratt goes right off the top of the Dons block, maybe off the shoulder of Jonathan Meyer. So now 20-16 in favor of Pacific.
A lot more energy on Pacific's side. Dons need to try and squash that with a couple long defensive stands again. We haven't seen much defense these last 10 points or so.
Pratt with the serve is overpassed by Shank, but they can't put it down. Chance for the Dons, short ball, and Oliver Cook says yes.
That's one way to get the defense is overpass it and then dig the overpass.
Not the way they draw it up, but it'll work. They'll take the point. They trail 20-17. And here comes Jonathan Meyer, the freshman out of Hamburg, New York. Dons have a couple of players out of Hamburg. Phil Peterson. Bumped up by Walker. Now they back set, and there is the swing by Clay Ostrander. Right down the line, so give him the kill, 21-17 Tigers.
Oh, Ostrander, he has dropped the hammer a few times since getting put in the lineup here. He was used as a serving substitute in games 1 and 2, but now they're using him as a weapon.
Chaz Hinesley with the serve. Dug up by Shank, they come down the middle. Ollie Cook wipes it off the block. So the Dons now trail 21-18. Here comes Berg in. Looks like Plisky is also going to check in for the Dons. And IPFW, I think right now Arnie Ball feels this is where we could really use a string of points to either get back into it, tie this thing up, and then work from there.
He's probably got his 3 best defenders in the back row right now, Plisky, Meyer, and Duckworth, and there's the dig.
By Duckworth, they joust at the net. Can the Dons dig it out? They do. The swing, another block, they keep it alive. There's a bump set. Shank loads it up and drills it off the block. What great play at the net by IPFW.
Yeah, and you know, the defense there was at the net. It was a fancy play by Nate Berg. I mean, he was going up to hit the ball or joust it. It deflected. He was in midair, and all he could do was punch it into the net, and they were able to pull it out and keep the rally alive.
A short ball that down is put down by Joe Forbes.
That was an important point, though, for the Dons to hold on to, because now it's still a 3-point lead, but if the Dons side out here, it's a 2-point game versus being down 4 points and making it a 3-point game.
Marisi is back in for IPFW. Ostrander will serve it up. Big serve, bumped up by Meyer. Ball comes across. Shank pounds it off the block, saved by Ostrander. A little bump set. Ostrander will just flip it over. Marisi. Mater, they back set. Duckworth, oh, what a nifty dig by Ostrander. Bowes flips it up. Dylan Walker again with a big swing. Now here come the Dons. Duckworth hits it into the net.
I'll tell you what, I am really impressed with Walker's ability to hit what we call an out-of-system set. That set he hit came actually like from behind him and over his head, and he still managed to get a really quality swing on it.
Now it's 23-19 Pacific. Ostrander Ooh, a diving save that time by Meyer. The set comes to Shank. Shank loads it up off the body that time of Bowes. Here comes Pratt, glances it off the tape. Dons dig it. Set comes across, and Shank misses everything. So now things are getting a little sticky as it's 24-19 in favor of Pacific. And Arnie Ball wants a timeout as he's trying to do anything he can to break the momentum of these Pacific Tigers. Pacific took the opener 30-25. Dons rallied to take game 2, 31-29 to square things. And then the Dons, with authority, took game number 3, 30-17, but they're down by 5 here, 24-19 in game number 4. And once again, you can get the inside set on the hard-hitting, high-flying IPFW men's volleyball program, the Arnie Ball Show, every Wednesday and Thursday right here in College Access Television. Coach Ball and Coach Mark Franke bring you scores and highlights. They talk about the matches, the competition, and they may introduce you to a player or a special guest. It's the Arnie Ball Show, Wednesdays, 6 p.m., Thursdays at 7:30, right here on College Access Television. One of the young fans in attendance here tonight at the Gate Center. So right now, Steve, unless the Dons can turn the tide a little bit, we are again heading for a 5th game, which isn't really out of the norm between these two teams. Again, back March 4th of 2006, the Dons had to come from behind to win 3-2. They also had another 3-2 victory back in March of way back in '99, 10 years ago. So playing lengthy matches is nothing new to these teams.
Now it's the fearless swings that got the Dons such a big lead in game 2. Game 3, excuse me. But it is the fearless swings right now that are costing the Dons as they've had a lot more hitting errors.
There's the smart timeout by Arnie Ball as again you come out of the timeout, results in a service error. That's part 1 of what the Dons need. Now they trail 24-20. Now they need a string of serves. And how about by this guy, Dan Mader? Big serve bumped up by Pratt. That's an overpass. They battle at the net, but that time Duckworth wipes it off the arm of Ficino. So now it's 24-21. Here come IPFW.
So quick point for the Dons, and all of a sudden it's goes from 19-24 up to 21-24.
Mader. Another good serve. Bumped up by Walker. A short ball is set. Wow, that time pretty good control by Ficino and the little dink by Forbes.
And, he didn't draw his arm back at all to hit that. That was planned from the get-go. Obviously a weakness or an open spot in the defense that was spotted by one of the coaches or one of the teammates because there was no attempt to hit that whatsoever.
Dylan Walker, the big serve, made her a bit of a run. Duckworth with the dink. What a great play by Duckworth as he dinked it in front of a lunging Ostrander, so the Dons get that point back and make it 25-22, but they need to start putting together a string of points.
And right back at you, says Duckworth, Pacific scores with a tip, so he's going to score with the tip for IPFW.
Again, a little time taken while they do a little floor maintenance. Have to towel off the floor.
You got Shank back to serve. This is a really good opportunity that does put Meyer in the front row, clearly the smallest blocker along the net. So look for a set, possibly go behind Ficino there.
Shank with the big serve, clips the tape, bumped up by Walker. Short ball is set, and it's put down by Joe Forbes. So Forbes has been the big kill leader for the Tigers. He has 15. The Dons have 3 players with double-digit kills. Shank 17, Duckworth 13, Cook has 10. And here is the first appearance by Kevin Downing, who's listed as a 6'6 junior setter out of Poipu, Hawaii. I'm sure he's coming in as a serving specialist. And he unloads. Well, Marisi, it's a one-handed set by Mader. That maybe could have been a carry. Now they come back. Pratt misses everything. Dons may have gotten away with one there, Steve. Either that or it was just a great play by Mader to get the control with the one hand.
They might have gotten away with one, and you have to actually, the officials didn't call that set, but I'll tell you what, you got to give it to Nate Berg because that set actually went down. It did not go up, and Nate Berg was able to knuckle it over and keep the play alive. So that could have been very well a hitting error, and that's what we're talking about. They need to reduce their hitting errors a little, so that was a nice job.
Matos with the serve. They come right down the pipe. Walker's blocked, kept alive. Now a free ball is played over. What can the Dons do? Oh my goodness. Oh my, and Arnie Ball's just livid. That time you had Ostrander just flipped the ball. Yes, it was tight to the net, but somehow...
you knew it was coming. You know, Ollie Cook really the middle blocker, and if he's not going to go up and block, he needs to be ready to play that ball up. That could have made it 26-24 instead. Now it's 27-23.
Could be a critical point, but so could that as Ficino commits the service error. So a point the Dons desperately needed is handed to them on a platter. Now here comes Duckworth. This is just the guy you want serving if you're going to rally back.
And a timely error for the Dons by Ficino because they had struggled passing his serve.
Well, there is a crusher.
Untimely error for the Dons.
Duckworth went for it, commits the service error. Now 28-24. The Dons are in trouble. Very close to this thing going the distance. If we go to 5, it'll be first to 15. Big serve that time by Pratt. Meyer goes over the block and off the arm of Kevin Pratt. So a good swing that time by Jonathan Meyer to go over a triple block and get it into that corner.
Huge side out right there for the Dons. They needed that point because that does two things. It gets them the point, obviously, but it puts Meyer in the back row, who is definitely a blocking liability for the Dons, and brings Darryl Shank into the front row, who's been just lights out for the Dons.
Good serve bumped up by Walker. Ficino, not the greatest of set, but there's a dink. The Dons keep it alive. A quick swing that time by Shank, and that gets the back row of Pacific out of sync. And now here come the Dons trailing 28-26. That gets Joe Wortman, the coach of the Tigers, off the bench. And I think he's going to need a timeout. He signals to Patty Salvatore, I do need a timeout. He sees what he appeared to think would be a game pretty well under control for his team. Now all of a sudden the Dons are scratching and clawing back, and they trail 28-26 now in game number 4. The Dons lead this match 2-1. Well, let's take a look at some of the volleyball IPFW will be playing down the line. Of course, these same two teams are right back at it here at the Gates Center tomorrow night. And the Dons want these matches because take a look at this tough road trip. They will play in a Long Beach State Invitational next weekend. Long Beach State coming into tonight's action, number 6 in the country. And then, oh, by the way, Brigham Young drops by, the number 3 team in the country. And that is next weekend at Long Beach State. And then the Dons continue their road trip. On the 20th of March, they go to former number 1, now number 4, Penn State. And then on the 21st at St. Francis of Pennsylvania. So after tomorrow night's match here at Gates against the Tigers, the Dons go on the road for 4 toughies. And then they come back on the 27th of March. And they'll have a big weekend at home against Rutgers Newark. And then George Mason, that on the 27th and 28th of March. But right now, still some business to take care of tonight. Specifically here in game number 4, the Dons trail 28-26. They lead 2-1. IPFW would love to rally and close it out in 4. Pacific chomping at the bit to go to a 5th game, which would be first team to 15 win by 2. Jonathan Meyer, the freshman from Hamburg, New York, will come up with a critical serve for the Dons. There it is down the line, and that is an overpass. It hits the antenna. That'll be an ace. That time Walker had his hands right on the floor. It was down the line. What a spot for a huge ace by Jonathan Meyer. It's 28-27. The Dons have a chance to tie. And that results in Walker leaving and Borchin coming in, who has been pretty good out of the back row.
We've got Duckworth, Meyer, and Marisi, 3 excellent back row players for the Dons. That's who you want up there, and you've got a nice blocking front row, so things look good right now.
Another big serve. The back set goes, and that time Ostrander just drills it off the Dons block, so a critical point there. It was still a great serve by Meyer, but a perfect pass that time by Borchin, who was specifically brought in, and now it's game point for the Tigers, 29-27. Chaz Hinesley, another one of the freshmen on this team for Pacific, will serve, trying to square this match at 2 apiece. Bumped up by Shank. Mater comes to Shank. Shank off the block. It's kept alive. No, it goes over the net on the other side of the antenna. So the Dons stave off 1 game point, 29-28. Well, a critical serve for Oliver Cook. And then the Dons are going to have the block ready.
This is, and the Dons have been playing great defense. You got Ollie Cook, who's a middle, and middle's typically not great at defense. He's going to have to stay in because he's already been subbed for.
The dink attempt that time by Forbes. Don sniff it out. Back set. Duckworth loads it up.
Yep.
And he clips it off the arm that time of Pratt. We are even at 29-29. And I think Joe Wortman can't believe it why his team would touch that ball if it maybe was looking like it was going to sail wide. But it's a reactionary game. You have to get your arms out there. The Dons have come all the way back to tie it at 29. Let's see now if Cook can put IPFW ahead. A good float serve flipped up by Pratt. They back set. Ostrander, and he airmails it.
He's going to get a piece of the block there.
Oh, the flagman in back is saying a touch, but wait a second. Dan Hauser.
Well, both lines judges called touches, and Dan Hauser, the official, he's the one that's overruling it. He has the ultimate power. He's the up official. So I thought I saw both line judges signal.
I agree. And right now you see Joe Forbes is pointing at one of the flagmen, and then he's pointing at the other flagman. He says, wait a second, both of these guys are saying there were touches, but you have Dan Hauser looking at his body language. He is telling Joe Forbes, he says, look, I am right up there. And with his ear near the net, he did not hear a touch. There you see a chagrined look on the face of Joe Wortman in his 17th season at the University of Pacific. A timeout has been called. The Dons have a match point. The fans are already on their feet here at Gates. It's a tradition when you have a game point. All the fans rise in unison. So they are already up, timeout notwithstanding, anticipating a possible match point. Just when it looked like IPFW, Steve, was in huge trouble, trailing 28-24, they have a match point on their hands.
They got some really timely serving by Meyer, and now some timely serving by Oliver Cook, some big defense, and a couple blocks. Made all the difference. And again, just grind it out. Just keep working, and then the cream will rise to the top. It's very easy to look at that and look at it 29-28 or look like you're down 2 or 3 points, 28-26, and think, wow, we can't do this. It's very easy to do that, especially late in the match when you're tired. That's not in the Dons' makeup. That does not exist in their minds. Coach Ball does not allow that to exist.
Well, they've broken their respective huddles, and let's see if the Dons can put this one in the books.
So we're going to have a replay. I think it's going to be on this controversial last play here, and we're going to see. We'll see. It's nice slow motion here. Is there a touch? There, up goes Dowell Shank. Ostrander with the swing, and it's hard to tell.
It's tough to tell. If anything, it would have possibly grazed the fingertips of the right hand of Shank, but really, really tough to tell. And now, well, this is a good sign for IPFW because it looks like Pacific is out of sync, as Wortman is summoning Kevin Downing to come in for Joe Forbes. Now there's mass confusion here in the Tigers, but now Downing comes out and Forbes remains in. So it's match point. Ollie Cook is set to serve it up. There's the head man of the Mastodons, Arnie Ball. Let's see if the Dons can close this out. Ollie flips it over. Here comes the set, the back set. And what a swing that time by Ostrander. Smokes the floor right past Duckworth. We are tied at 30. So again, if you use baseball parlance like we did in Game 2, we do a little extra innings. It's first team to 30, but you have to win by 2. And here is Clay Ostrander, the junior out of Wheaton, Illinois. And he serves it into the net for an error. Wow.
Well, he just comes off the heels of a huge swing. Swing before that, he feels like he got robbed. Then he goes and buries it into the net. And there it is again. The Dons have put themselves in this position, though, to allow for those errors. They made it possible to be here.
Big match point number 2. Pacino back sets. They go to Ostrander. It's blocked! It's blocked that time by Shank, and the Dons have done it. What a great job by Daryl Shank. IPFW has won this one in 4. They win 25-30, 31-29, 30-17, and 32-30. We'll take a break, and we'll be back to wrap things up from the Gates Sports Center on CATV Sports. This is IPFW.
Could be even better. You could land a promotion, earn more money, become a leader in your field. And IPFW makes it easy with affordable tuition, night and weekend classes, and more than 20 graduate programs from business to education to public affairs and more. Become the master of your future. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, your graduate university.
What do college students want? That's a question we'll explore on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, when results of a recent undergraduate student survey are discussed. Most people are aware of the movie images of martial arts, but did you know there is real art in martial arts? We'll show you some examples. And we'll learn about IPFW's Japanese Saturday School, all on the next edition of IPFW Up Close, Sundays at noon on College Access Television.
This isn't mine.
Men often oppose a thing merely because they've had no agency in planning it, or because it may have been planned by those whom they dislike.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW. It's an exploration of the great ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of more than 50 key books and writings. So, will that be paper or plastic? Log on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
Welcome back to the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on the campus of IPFW, along with IPFW Associate Women's Head Coach Stephen Florio. Kent Horman here on CATV Sports. Steve, what a match for IPFW. Oh, yeah. I think this was, again, another one of those situations where this young team, we haven't said that in a while, as far as Arnie Ball's program, but especially so dotted with freshmen, just 2 seniors on this squad. It was a situation where the Dons came up after losing game number 1 in rather convincing fashion, 30-25. They rallied in game number 2. Very impressive in the third game. And then again, you talked about it the entire match, the grit, the determination. They came back to win game number 4, and they take this match 3-1.
And that hard work paid off. I mean, they got the breaks when they needed them. A missed serve down there by Ostrander at the very end of the game. I mean, they put themselves in a position to allow that missed serve to happen by getting there, by working so hard to come back, you know. So it's good luck, but the luck is, you know, the old expression, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Well, that was the Dons tonight. They got some good breaks, and they made the breaks happen.
And we take a look at some of the replays of this match, and the IPFW very, very active. Again, at one point it looked like Pacific was in pretty good shape in game number 4, but you had the likes of Daryl Shank and Ben Duckworth, and what a job the freshman setter Mater did when he came in. The Dons, Nathaniel Berg did a good job, a couple of big serves, a couple of big blocks. And again, when you have a team that is this young, you're going to need the leadership from the seniors you have. You're going to have your go-to guys like Duckworth and Shank. They're going to have to step up. And then you're going to have to get, I guess, some surprises. Or you're going to have your freshmen come of age early.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mater really answered the call tonight. He did a great job. Meyer, who came in game 3, he did a great job. He's a young player. And then Mike Mauricio, there's that senior leadership. He picked up his level of play. And there's that.
Yeah, the Ostrander free ball that landed in front of a sea of Mastodons. But there again, a lot of touches. And there you have Shank putting it down. IPFW all over the floor, as you can see. And there is another big point into the far corner. So the Dons did a lot of activity at the net, some great digging. There was a huge swing that time, a good swing that time by Daly. So it was a back-and-forth match, and IPFW again prevails. They come back, and they win this one in 4. Well, we'll take a final break here, and then we'll come back to wrap things up from CATV Sports. This is IPFW Mastodon Volleyball.
You're not going out dressed like that.
New opinions are always suspected and usually opposed, without any other reason but because they are not already common. So just chill, Mom.
Citing John Locke is not going to get you out of this one.
Looks like somebody knows where history is happening. The Remnant Trust at IPFW, an exploration into the key ideas that have shaped the world we live in. Meet historical characters, attend lectures, films, and an exhibit of key books and writings. Find out more by logging on to remnanttrust.ipfw.edu.
This is the training manual for a 747, and these are the documents you'll sign at closing. Now, no one climbs into the cockpit without knowing this inside and out. Yet while making the biggest purchase of their lives, most people only pretend to read these. That's why the Mortgage Bankers Association made the Simple Facts, something you can read and understand long before closing to help you get the loan that makes sense for you. Get your copy at homeloanlearningcenter.com. The simple facts. The name says it all.
Where would the world be today without religion? For better or worse, religion has been around as long as people have, and religious revolutions have existed almost as long.
On the next edition of Words of Change, we'll explore the three major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, how they are alike and how they are different. Join me, Bill McKinney.
And me, Daisha Charlesworth, as we bring you Words of Change, a look into the remnant trust at IPFW, Sunday evenings at 5:30 on College Access Television.
I've gone away to a college where the class size is small. I've gone away to a college with a beautiful campus.
I've gone away to a college that cares about diversity.
I've gone away to a college where I get to live in my own apartment instead of living in a dorm room.
I've gone away to a college that really isn't that far away at all.
I go to IPFW.
IPFW.
I go to IPFW.
To find out more about college life at IPFW, go to our website. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
Back at the Gates Sports Center, and as we wrap things up here, a victorious evening for the IPFW Mastodons volleyball program. After dropping the first game to the University of Pacific, the Dons come back to reel off the next three, a couple of those games coming back to rally, and IPFW defeats the University of Pacific in 4. And Steve, let's take a look at some of the numbers from this match.
Well, the numbers that jump out to me by far are the digs down way at the bottom there. You see IPFW 53 digs to 41 for the Tigers, and that is a huge stat because really, in my opinion, that was the story of the match, and that directly affects the next stat I'm going to look at, which is hitting percentage. I know I'm going a little out of order here, but I'm going in the order I feel the match was won, and so the digging in turn I think made the Pacific Tigers hitting percentage drop. They hit 400 in game 1, and that as that goes on, the Dons were able to chip them down, and they finished the match with a 184 hitting percentage, and the Dons vice versa went from a .032 hitting percentage all the way up to a 250, and I think that was from the defense giving the Dons second chances, and the lower hitting percentage by the Tigers is because of all the digs not letting the ball hit the ground. I mean, if the ball didn't hit the ground, you can't count it as a kill.
That's right.
So I think the name of the game right there is the digs way at the bottom, which translated into hitting percentages, poor hitting percentage by Pacific, and outstanding raise and level of hitting percentage by the Dons. Of course, Dons served 6 aces. Pacific outblocked the Dons 25-21. Well, you see 60 kills to 53 again. A lot of second chances for the Dons to get swings on the ball, due in large part to all the great defense played by the entire team.
And you talked about some of the personnel changes as we see a time-honored tradition here after every home volleyball match. The players remain on the floor and have a little autograph session as they sign posters for well-wishers and a bunch of fans and just kids. They love to hang out with the volleyball plays and things like that. So, we'll make one final point, Steve, and I think you talked about this. There were 2 key personnel changes for IPFW that I think turned this match around. One was by necessity when freshman Dan Mater had to come in and set game number 2 because the starter, Corey Stewart, has a bad hand.
Yep.
Bad formula for a setter. And then Jonathan Meyer coming in, and he contributed mightily. Maybe the statistics don't fly off the pages, but just did those little things, a clutch swing, a clutch dig, added some energy on the floor, and that translates into an IPFW victory.
Absolutely. It was a really nice change by Coach Ball. He traded offense because Phil Peterson was certainly having a great match. There's no doubt about that. But he traded offense for defense, and it paid off.
Steve, a pleasure working with you tonight.
Same
it was
here.
an absolute blast, and good luck with the women as you get them ready for next fall. Well, that'll do it from here at the Hilliard Gates Sports Center on the campus of IPFW. And again, don't forget the same 2 teams will be here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. That'll be no television, so come out, spend $5 and buy some concessions. Enjoy game number 2, the match number 2 between IPFW and Pacific this big weekend here. The next televised match of IPFW men's volleyball comes Saturday, March 28th, 7 p.m. here at the Gates Center when George Mason comes to town. So once again, the final score tonight here at the Gates Center, IPFW defeats the University of Pacific 25-30, 31-29, 30-17, and 32-30. For Steve Florio, I'm Kent Horman. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a CATV Sports exclusive of IPFW Men's Volleyball. Good night, everybody.